opened the 1995-96 season playing host to the Orlando Solar Bears in front of all the pageantry that is a home opener in the International Hockey League. Tonight, the tables are turned as the Bears play their first ever at home as Orlando's Ice Age begins versus the Detroit Vipers. Live from the Orlando Arena in Orlando, Florida, tonight's International Hockey League action has the Detroit Vipers taking to the road against the Orlando Solar Bears. And a very good evening, everyone. It is the home opener and the first ever game for the Orlando Solar Bears tonight from the Orlando Arena. John Alers alongside my color analyst, Bobby J. And the skate is on the other foot tonight. Bobby, a week ago, these same two teams at the Palace. Orlando with maybe added pressure, not only a season opener, but the all-time opener.
Yeah, it is. We went through it last year in Detroit. You know, the fans come in and expect a big show the first night, and for Orlando, that's a little extra pressure, but I'm sure they're excited and they want to produce for the fans and the owners tonight here in Orlando.
The Vipers had a strong opening weekend, going 2-0. They find themselves atop their division early in the season, but it took Rick Dudley only 1 week to start not necessarily messing with the mix, but adding to the mix. A new face in the lineup. In fact, a couple of them tonight. Starting on defense, Michael Stewart makes his Viper debut tonight.
Yeah, well, Michael Stewart's the kind of guy every coach likes. Big defenseman, 6'2", 210, had over 100 penalty minutes last year for Binghamton. So they expect him to just stay at home, move the puck, and be physical in his own end.
A former first-round draft pick is Stewart. The Vipers obviously with a big addition as he comes over assigned from the Hartford Whalers. Also another new face in the lineup for Detroit tonight. In the middle, David Emma, and his timing is pretty good as he joins the club from New Jersey.
Yeah, from Detroit's point of view, it couldn't be better. Dave Smith goes out with an ankle injury last weekend. Dave Emma comes in and fills his role at center. Dave Emma won the Hobie Baker in college, best player in the country. It's a good pickup for Detroit. We look for him to contribute tonight.
He's a very offensive-minded player, a one-time U.S. Olympian. Emma, a welcome addition, and as Bobby mentioned, very good timing as he joins the Vipers tonight for the game here in Orlando. These two teams met a week ago at the Palace of Auburn Hills, and maybe some unlikely heroes as Orlando really stormed down the stretch in the final two periods to make a game of it. We saw a lot of different game from Joe Frederick down the stretch. Right. We saw the goal scoring. He's got a pretty complete package.
Yeah, Joe Frederick was a member of the Northern Michigan Championship team, and now he went on to Adirondack after that, where he became a goal scorer with 27 goals last year. Now to see him here, where they have a lot of other big guns in Orlando, and they didn't expect maybe quite as much as him, 3 points last weekend, so they look for him to keep that up tonight.
And a familiar face joins the Orlando lineup as well. He finished out his season after being assigned by the Rangers with the Vipers a year ago. Mike Hartman was signed, I believe, the day of the opener, was not at the Palace, but he's here tonight at the Orlando Arena. He's going to add a lot to this Orlando club as well.
Yeah, Mike Hartman has a lot of experience. Played in the Stanley Cup champion New York Rangers, been in the NHL for 9 years. Big physical guy. He adds to a lineup that's already tough. He's just going to help that level of play for them tonight.
The Orlando Solar Bears have not played since last Friday when they were 6-5 losers to the Vipers at the Palace of Auburn Hills. It was a very interesting hockey game. The Vipers came out strong, built a 4-0 lead, and then down the stretch, especially in the third period, I think we saw what Orlando has. They really did outplay Detroit in the final 20 minutes.
Yeah, they did. We discussed last week that the emotion was going to be running high for both teams. Orlando had to weather the storm in the first period. Unfortunately for Orlando, it didn't happen. Detroit built a 4-0 lead, but Orlando found their game and outplayed over the last 40 minutes the Vipers.
Just the second game of the season for the Orlando Solar Bears as they have their first ever at home tonight from the Orlando Arena against the Detroit Vipers. We'll come back to take a look at tonight's keys to the game when we return on the Detroit Viper Hockey Network. Back at the Orlando Arena, where tonight it's the season home opener for the Orlando Solar Bears as they play host to the Detroit Vipers. Same two teams, just a different arena. A week ago, they did it at the Palace of Auburn Hills. And Bobby, for the Vipers, this their second opener of the season tomorrow. They go to Houston. They'll go through their home opener. And later on this season, they'll be in Kalamazoo mid-October for their opener. As a player, this could get old, couldn't it?
Yeah, especially when you're the visiting team. You know, you don't like to go into another building with the opening night, all the festivities, the emotions running high. But it's exciting to see these cities and how big time it is, and these beautiful buildings packed in with the crowds and all the fireworks and that. It's pretty exciting to be a part of it.
Orlando is a city that is not for any loss in its entertainment value as well, so we're expecting quite a show here at the Orlando Arena, as they're not expecting the puck to be dropped until about 7:45. Time now to take a look at tonight's keys to the game, brought to you by your Coca-Cola bottler, always on ice, always Coca-Cola. We'll go to the Detroit keys to the game first, and first and foremost, you want to come out of the gate. They've done it so far this year.
Yeah, they certainly have. After the first weekend, they've led their opponents 7-0 in the first periods. And that aggressiveness puts their opponents right on their heels early. And we know it's tough to play when you're down right out of the gate, and they want to continue that tonight.
We talked about the size differential in the first meeting between these two clubs, and Detroit needs to address that by fighting fire with fire.
They really do. We discussed the size of Orlando, and they added more tonight with Mike Hartman in the lineup, as we mentioned earlier. So Orlando's going to come out and hit, especially at home. There's no doubt about it. Detroit being on the road, they have to come in and hit also and fight the fire with fire.
For Orlando, it's their home opener, but they haven't played in a week, and for a club with all the emotion going, it could be an opportunity for them to come out a little bit rusty. They got to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, they do. You know, it's tough for them. They played one game last weekend, had the whole week off, and now they only play one game this weekend. Although they ended the game last game in Detroit on a good note, they want to make sure they got this week of practice under their belt and come out flying.
And we talk about the emotion in a game like this for either team. There's a lot for Orlando, but it has to be the correct emotion.
It does, especially for the home team, because that emotion can go two ways. It can go in a positive direction or a negative direction. They want to funnel that energy, be physical, be aggressive, but don't take any bad penalties early.
Those are tonight's keys to the game, brought to you by your Coca-Cola bottler, always on ice, always Coca-Cola. The Detroit Vipers and the Orlando Solar Bears, their second meeting of the season from the Orlando Arena. We'll be back to take a look at maybe some of the opening festivities, as well as have the opening face-off to tonight's game when we come back after this on the Detroit Vipers Hockey Network. Detroit Vipers Hockey is brought to you by Bud Ice, the official beer sponsor of the IHL. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. You feel better if you're blue. Your local Coca-Cola bottler. Always on ice, always Coca-Cola. And by Care Choices, rated the #1 HMO in Michigan by the Consumer's Guide to Health Plans. Well, green means go, doesn't it, Bobby?
Yeah, it does. It's loud in here, and looks like we're ready for a big show right now.
We had anticipated that this show would begin quite a bit ago, and it has yet to get off the ground. We talked about the Vipers getting out of the gate. I know the Solar Bears organization has never hosted a game before, but we were given some instructions before the game that told us puck drop would be around 7:45. I don't think we've got much of a chance of that happening.
Yeah, well, they said possibly 20 minutes of pregame show, and it just looks like it's getting underway right now, so we'll see how long it takes and how exciting it is before they actually get out here on the ice and get ready to play.
Well, this pregame gala, if you will, complete with all the bells and the whistles, is expected to include some rappelling from the Solar Bear to be, I guess. I didn't quite catch his name. I think it's in the notes. We'll catch up on that. But as well as the pyrotechnics that are the indoor fireworks and becoming the norm, not only around the International Hockey League, but around hockey on an opening night.
Well, especially with Orlando being in the NBA also, and, you know, putting on a big show for the NBA. And so I'm sure even though they haven't done it for a hockey game, they've done it before, and it should be pretty interesting and pretty exciting.
Well, they have inflated their indoor iceberg, if you will, that is complete with a Solar Bear coming out of it at the top, and that's where the players will enter the ice. You have to think as you try to be sensitive, I think, to the fact that it's a new organization, but knowing Rick Dudley as well as you do and as I do, I think there will reach a point where this will not become tolerable as Detroit continues to sit in their locker room.
Well, it usually takes Rick at least one shift before he starts getting intense and getting at the refs or something, but maybe this might get his goat early before the puck even drops. He might be a little fired up for tonight's game.
place was out of control. Spaceship crash, now I glow. I get energy from the sun. When I play hockey, I have fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, moms and dads, kids of all ages, it's time to put your paws together for your Orlando Solar Bears. At defense, number 4, Pat Neaton. At left wing, number 7, Craig Duncanson. Playing center, number 8, Neil Eisenhut. At center, number 10, Alfie Turcotte. At right wing, number 11, Dave Barr. Playing right wing, number 15, Kerry Clark. At defense, number 16, Todd Richards. At center, number 17, Craig Fisher. At left wing, number 18, John LeBlanc. At center, number 19, Mark Beauvais. Playing left wing, number 20, Mike Hartman. At defense, number 21, Mark Berner. At defense, number 23, Barry Traeger. At defense, number 24, Jeff Circa. Playing center, number 25, Jeff Reed. At left wing, number 27, Bob Joyce. At defense, number 29, Brad Tiley. Right wing, number 33, Joe Frederick. Playing right wing, number 44, Alan May. Your goaltenders, number 30, Alan Bester. And also in goal, number 34, Scott LeGrand. Solar Bears General Manager Don Waddell, Head Coach Kurt Fraser. Assistant Coach Pete Horacek, Trainer Craig Brewer, and Equipment Manager Scott Moon. Ladies and gentlemen, put your paws together for your Orlando Solar Bears. Not in uniform tonight, number 2, Bob Kellogg. Let's hear it for your Solar Bears. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Detroit Tigers.
Well, we now know the name of the Solar Bear, Shades. If nothing else, we got that out of that.
Yeah, you must watch a lot of ESPN, too. Still doing a little rappelling and all the modern sports and recreation.
And as expected, the Vipers staying in their locker room until the festivities came to a conclusion and make their way out. If any organization or any team obviously is sympathetic to opening night, maybe glitches in the procedures of all the glitz and glitter. It's Detroit, and now let's listen in on the playing of tonight's national anthem. what so proudly we've hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch, what so gallantly streaming, as the rockets fickling, the bumpers in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Go get him, fellas.
The Backdoor Boys with the singing of tonight's national anthem. And let's take a look at tonight's starting goaltenders. Daniel Bertiome gets the nod in goal for Detroit, coming off the shutout over Chicago on Saturday, was certainly very sharp.
Yeah, he was, and they went right back to him this weekend, first game back, and gave Rick Knickel the night off, which I would assume he will play tomorrow, but Danny's going to hopefully keep it rolling after the win Saturday night.
Excuse me, I was joking with him before the game. I said he wanted to see a stat sheet on the league. I said, don't worry, Dan, you still lead the league in goals against average. Obviously, with his shutout, he has a 0.00. Alan Bester gets the nod for the second consecutive night for the second consecutive game for the Orlando Solar Bears. He's going to be their go-to guy this season, and he'll see a lot of action.
Definitely, he's got a lot of experience at the NHL level as well as the minor league level, and they expect big things out of him this season.
A commissioner of the International Hockey League donning the new team era with the dropping of the ceremonial first puck at center ice between Craig Duncanson and Alani Loach.
Looks like the commissioner had a preseason, too. He's in good shape skating around out there.
The skating commissioner, as he is often referred to. Rick Dudley on the Detroit bench has his club off to a nice start at 2-0, and the offense has definitely been there, booned by the additions of Michael Pavanka and Peter Bondra. The Vipers scored 6 in each of their first 2 outings, and Kurt Frazier with 1 game under his belt as the head man on the Solar Bear bench. And that's a 6-5 loss to Detroit. Interesting way to start the season for a club, your first 2 games against the same team.
Yeah, it is, especially only playing 1 game each weekend the first 2 weekends of the season. I know as a player I wouldn't like that at all. It's just you can't get into a rhythm. You've been in training camp for a month, and now you get out play 1 game, then have to wait a whole week to play another one.
Yeah, a stark contrast, as we mentioned at the outset. After this weekend, Detroit will have played 5 games, Orlando just 2. Of course, these clubs have met only once. That was a week ago, and as we mentioned, a Detroit victory at the Palace, but almost 2 games in 1, if you will. Detroit with the big first period, a 4-0 lead, and then, if you will, coasting a little bit and hanging on down the stretch for the 6-5 win. And our officials, Luke Galvin is our referee, Jacobs and Martin are the linesmen. You know, we talked in that game a week ago Friday, Bob, about the emotion factor, and we've talked about it tonight in the first period. Detroit responded very positively after a long delay and with all the emotion as they jumped all over Orlando. It'll be interesting to see how the Solar Bears do it tonight with maybe the Heat on their side of the ice.
Yeah, well, hopefully they can just remember the last 40 minutes they played last weekend and build off that. Forget about the first 20 in which Detroit came out flying. We discussed how good Detroit looked in that first period. That was perhaps the best period we've seen them play, although they did play a good game the second night against Chicago. But Orlando wants to try and imitate what Detroit did last weekend right out of the gate.
If you like your colors, Detroit in their road eggplant, if you will, with aqua numbers and red and white trim, and Orlando in the home whites with purple numerals, purple, black, and, you ready for this? Seafoam blue. That's what they're calling that, as the other trim color on their jerseys. Whatever happened to blue, red, yellow,
purple and green to me, I don't know.
There you go. Well, a little bit beyond schedule, Luke Galvin stands at center ice. Looks at the respective netminders. Alan Bester has yet to get his crease the way he likes it, so that's what's holding us up at this point in time. Now Galvin waiting on something else as he just stands at center ice. Not exactly certain if maybe he's waiting on a television timeout or what have you, but certainly had our time to get our TV timeouts here in the first 25 minutes.
Yeah, we discussed Orlando's physical presence. They start their checking line right away.
Face off at center ice. Jeff Reed, who did not see action in the game Friday at the Palace, takes the draw against Michael Pavanka. Junker goes into the Orlando zone after it, pulls away from Circa in the corner and comes back up the wall to the slot on his backhand. Junker will send it back to the line. Williams fed it in front, trying to redirect was Pavanka coming out of the corner. Got his stick on it, but couldn't get it towards the net. The Bears will clear to center, and Michael Stewart back for Detroit at his own line. Rink wide for Williams. Quick puck movement for the Vipers as Junker goes in after it. Touched up an icing call back by Todd Richards in the Orlando zone will bring the face-off back into the Detroit zone.
Well, Detroit's moving the puck pretty well early. Junker brought it across the middle, slid it back to Williams. Williams looked for Bondra going to the net and just missed.
Todd Richards is going to be a big catalyst for this Orlando club this season. He's going to carry the puck a lot, and I think we're going to see a lot of him tonight as well. As Kurt Frazier early in the season dresses just 5 defensemen with Mark Ferner out with a broken finger.
Yeah, that's real interesting. It's tough for the forwards. Most of them will say they don't really like to have that many forwards dressing because they don't feel like they get into a flow of the game. Defensemen like it. With 5D, you get plenty of ice and you're right in it early.
And at the same time, early in the season, you've always got enough bodies around to dress a sixth. So an interesting decision by Frazier. Vipers off the draw control out of their own zone and up the left side. Loach moves it to center. Got it through to Josef Cherny, but it's knocked away from him by Brad Tiley. Tiley finishes the check. Savaglia kept it in the zone, and then Frederick backhands it up the boards and to center ice. Back to get it for Detroit is Brad Shaw in his own zone with help from Chagorovsky. Ahead now for Lonnie Loach on the left side. Loach into the zone, working on Neaton, slides it across the slot. Cherny and Savaglia go after it. Savaglia got it to the line. Shaw winds into one, and that's on top of the Orlando goal, and a penalty coming up on the play as Lonnie Loach was checked right into Alan Bester. I think Neaton's going to go off for a cross-check. No, interference will be the call.
Yeah, Detroit's picking up where they left off as far as their offensive game plan. They're just getting the puck. If it's at the points, they're getting it on net, and the forwards are going to crash, create some traffic in front of Bester, who is a small goaltender. Hopefully get a screen and either a deflection or...
Oh, and Lonnie Loach has a good point here. He's been given the interference penalty. As we get a second look there, it appeared that Neaton cross-checked him into his own goaltender. Loach just going to the front of the net, and yet somehow picks up the interference call.
Yeah, the only way I could imagine he'd call that is if he felt Loach was in the goal crease before Neaton came to him.
Now Luke Galvin with a popular yet interesting call just a minute 4 into the game, and the Viper captain had a few words with him as he went to the sin bin, but nonetheless, the Vipers go short-handed. Face off from outside the Orlando blue line, controlled by the Bears, and Neaton will take it back into his own zone. Patrick Neaton, who played his college hockey at the University of Michigan, motors to center, moves it on left wing. Dave Barr got it off his skate and sweeps it in deep. Off the corner boards, Buffet behind the net with it. Sent it to the corner, swept back around. Duncanson goes after it, poked away from him, up the boards, and out. Joe Day got to it as he and Neaton collide at the point.
Nice play by Kribahisha. He just threw it around soft and allowed Day to skate into it and shoot it out.
Orlando still on the power play, back to center ice. Racing into the Detroit zone as Neaton throws it to the corner. Duncanson goes in after it. Neaton got to his own carom as Williams spun him around in the corner to the corner now for John LeBlanc. LeBlanc trying to get it to Barr at the point. Couldn't get it through Joe Day, and he's able to hack it the length of the ice.
That's what you have to do on penalty killing, John. It's just second efforts. Day didn't get out the first time, chopped on it, beat Barr to the puck.
Well, if they've got clocks in here showing us the power play time, I have no idea where they are. To the front of the net, Bertium makes a big save as it comes right to cross the slot. And Todd Richards coming up off the right point, got it on net, and Daniel has made his first save.
A big save, too. He had to slide from post to post as the pass came all the way across the ice. Beautiful pass. Bondra's back just a half a step behind. The shot's on, and Berthiaume's right over on a good angle and stops it. Looks like it was going through the 5-hole. Berthiaume made a nice save early. Nice passing play by Orlando also.
Face-off will be in the ring to the left of Berthiaume. 17:49 to go. Just under a minute left in the penalty to Loach. Alfie Turcotte takes the draw. It just lay there for a moment. David Williams steps up and clears the zone. Back to get it, Brad Tiley, who scored the first goal in Orlando history a week ago in Detroit. Ironically, the former Viper moves it to Richards on the right side and into the Detroit zone. Craig Fisher tripped up a little. Theatrics does not draw the call. Fisher back up, has it rim of the near circle. Stewart knocks it away, and back comes Michael Pavanka. Has Bondra behind the defense and just missed him with the breakaway pass at the line. Bondra got to it and sent a sharp angle shot on net. Bester forced to cover up as he made an excuse-me save almost.
Well, that's a perfect example of a good goal scorer. Peter Bondra appeared to be almost behind the goal line. Knew there was nothing else to do, but threw the puck on net and forced Bester to make a save. It almost hit his stick and trickled through his legs.
Good short-handed effort. Started with a big check from Michael Stewart.
Well, Michael Stewart just slides the hip on Craig Fisher, who's a shifty player, especially carrying the puck at the offensive blue line. Good hit early, and that's what they're looking for out of Stewart.
A lost start of the hip check from Michael Stewart. Face-off in the circle to the right of Bester, controlled by Detroit. Chagorovsky winds into one. That hit traffic in front, didn't get through. David Emma with a good play in front to try to keep it alive. Checking it with Savaglia. Threw it back to the point. The Vipers will just dump and work some time. Loach will be out of the box in 10 seconds. Bears bring it to center. This is Richards. Flips it into the Detroit zone. Bouncing puck. Shaw goes after. Turcotte put the body on him, and Frederick sends it to the line. Tiley with it there, swept it to the corner. Out of the box is Loach, and he's ahead of the play. Savaglia feeds it to him. Lonnie on left wing, gave it back to Pete. Now this is Lonnie again. Sharp angle shot saved by Bester, and Tiley sweeps the rebound away. Good transition play by the Vipers as they caught Loach coming out of the box, and the Bears just clear. They'll get a change.
We've discussed Detroit moving the puck. They seem to be doing that tonight as well. They're really snapping the passes on the tape.
Shaw throws it through neutral ice, and Detroit will get changes as Drager knocked it down ahead for Alan May. Into the Detroit zone, trying to drag it in and rolling it on net was Bob Joyce. Berthiaume will cover. No score early in the game from Orlando on the Viper Hockey Network. It'll be family night at the Palace October the 27th when Indy comes to town. Then on the 29th when Vegas comes a-calling. 4 tickets, 2 T-shirts, and $20 worth of Palace Fun money is all yours. For just $44, it's a $90 value. For information, call the Palace box office, 810-377-0100. A penalty at the end of that last play goes against Greg Andrzak, who is called for the hold on Bob Joyce. And another power play opportunity for Orlando.
Well, it was a nice move by Joyce, but it seemed that Andrzak was inside him. In other words, his body was between Joyce and Berthiaume, which usually doesn't necessitate a holding call, but maybe with the new rules and the obstruction and calling it a little tighter tonight, and Galvin decided that was a hold. Orlando has another power play, excuse me,
Bob. Orlando 0 for 1 on the power play so far tonight. And the face-off to the left of Berthiaume. Day gloves it back to the boards. David Williams goes after it and sweeps it around the dasher. Guy LaRose got a stick on it. Weird bounce, comes to the slot. Alfie Turcotte with a shot, save Berthiaume, and he'll cover.
Nice break for Orlando there. Williams threw the puck around and caught an edge on the boards. Kicked out into the slot. It was slid over to Turcotte, I believe, who took a nice wrist shot, and Berthiaume made another nice save. Here's Turcotte in a perfect scoring angle. Berthiaume is right on the money. Hits him in the pad. He hangs on to the rebound with Fisher standing right at the door.
Danny has twice showed us that good lateral movement that made him so successful in the playoffs for Detroit a year ago and earned him the contract. His second start of the year. Off the draw, Tiley at the right point. Will move it up the boards. Turcotte handles it in the corner. On the half wall, sends it out high. Tiley throws it towards the net. Frederick was in front. Trivahisha picked him up, sent up the boards, and now held in by Richards. Richards backs it out to the blue line, almost coughed it up. Now Tiley on the near side. Look out, he winds into one, and that was about 10 feet off the ground, off a deflection, all the way to center. LaRose and Day the other way shorthanded. Oh, Guy LaRose was upended hard. Play continues, and back come the Solar Bears to center. Turcotte had it knocked off his stick as he got it to the blue line. Chagorovsky reaching out with that long reach to just poke it away. Tiley already seeing a lot of time on the power play. Will rifle it back into the Detroit zone around the wall. Frederick will spin it to the other side. Eludes the Orlando player, and Joe Day will backhand it the rest of the way.
Orlando seems much more aggressive on their power play. They're really coming up ice, all 5 guys with speed, and forcing Detroit to back off the blue line a little bit.
45 seconds remains in the Orlando man advantage. Bertiom out behind his net to play it as it's dumped around the wall. Bondra plays it back to the corner and then swept the length of the sheet by Brad Shaw. Good penalty killing by the Vipers. Good communication. Bondra passing it back into his own zone to find the open man and allowing Shaw to clear. Here comes Duncanson to center, trying to find Buffet behind the defense, but that's ruled an offside pass. And the play will come back outside the blue line. Orlando with 21 seconds remaining in their second power play of the game.
Well, that was another example. It was offside there, but of Orlando really pushing the play towards Detroit on the power play. Trying to catch him quick in transition and forcing Detroit to either stand up on the blue line or back off. They force him to make a decision early, and at times it makes Detroit a bit hesitant.
Kirk Frazier, very intense competitor. Although you wouldn't know it to talk to him before the game, he keeps the emotions in check. He's very, very even-keeled, but boy, he gets on that bench, he gets in that locker room, and it's a little bit different.
Yeah, well, I don't know Kurt, but I remember him as a player, and he was a tough cookie.
Jeff Circa trying to carry and does into the Detroit zone for Buffet. Buffet with a drop pass and the shot unable to be gotten off as Savaglia with a good job back-checking as he picked up John LeBlanc coming down the slot.
Well, LeBlanc's a goal scorer, a bona fide goal scorer. I believe he had 39 goals last year in the American League. And Buffet is generally a playmaker. Perhaps Buffet here had the shot, but looked for LeBlanc, and LeBlanc was covered on a nice play by Michael Stewart coming back into play.
Yeah, you're right. The pass from Buffet passed back into the Detroit defense. He was clean behind and one-on-one with Bertiom and chose to make the pass. Hindsight being 20/20, perhaps the former Northern Michigan standout would take the shot.
Yeah, well, that's the general rap on most playmakers, a Craig Janney type player. They often pass up quality shots to make passes, but that's their game. That's the way they've played their whole careers, and it's really tough for them to change. They're always thinking set up, and at times they don't realize they have good quality shots to take.
Inside the final 10 seconds, and the penalty to Andrzak, who stands poised in the Detroit box to come out. The puck comes out of the zone. Andrzak will come out of the box, and the team's even strength. Play in the neutral zone. Orlando coughs it up. Andrzak almost got to it. Now does push it to the line. Duncanson hooked it away and then just missed Buffet. It'll roll on net. Bertiom forced to sweep it away. Williams told him to send it to the right side. He got it to him, and now a two-line pass will be called as Lonnie Loach picks up the pass in the neutral zone.
Both teams are really having good transition early. Orlando, most of their transition has been on the power play, but they're turning it up quick, and Detroit, as you saw there, just turned it up quick also. And unfortunately for Detroit, Loach was just one step offside, or he would have had a good break down the wing.
And we have seen good puck movement early on, as you mentioned, Bob, and I don't know if you and I really anticipated that we would see that much of that, because the word from the players after the morning skate today was that the ice was really not all that good, and it wouldn't lead to being able to move the puck as well as we've seen.
Yeah, but right now with 5 minutes already gone, it seems pretty good out there, pretty smooth, and it doesn't look too soft. It's tough to tell from here, but the puck's moving well, and the players are skating pretty quick.
It was very warm in this building this morning at the morning skate with no crowd in the building, and there was concern of fog on the ice, but that has yet to develop. Vipers into the Orlando zone. LaRose thought he had a man coming behind him, just threw the blind drop pass. That was cleared away. Craig had hacked it into the zone, but he'll have to touch up.
Coaches don't like to see blind backhand passes, especially at the offensive blue line.
In that 5-foot area, just inside the blue line or just outside of it, where you hate to turn the puck over. Puck cleared to center. Brad Shaw will have to wait for the mates to touch up. His pass almost picked off by Alan May, who got a piece of it, and now Craighead goes after it. Richards knocks it from him. Still at center ice. LaRose will dump it in. Detroit needs to touch up, so they'll change as they do. From behind the net, Barry Drager moves it ahead for Orlando to Alan May, who knuckles one in on the Detroit net. Bertiom careful to play it away for Greg Andrzak. Ahead at center, the Vipers move it. Junker ahead on the play, has Pavanka with it. Pavanka comes across the slot, fanned on the pass, now throws it towards the net. Oh, and it just went off the skate of Dave Barr and just wide of the far post. Penalty coming up to Orlando as Pavanka keeps it alive. Bertiom to the bench for the sixth attacker. Pavanka in the corner, just runs a little interference, allowing Bondra and Junker to do some work. It comes back to the point, and it gets past Krivahisha. He'll have to chase it back into his own zone. Vipers need to be careful here with their net empty. Boy, they've worked it well, though. Bondra finds the open man. Krivahisha moves it ahead. Andrzak across the line with a drop pass. Pavanka got it back to Andrzak. To the line, Krivahisha will keep it in. Plays it up the glass, and that one bounces to the corner. It gets to Pavanka behind the net, trying to feed it in front. Bondra had to go off his skate. Junker took a whack at it as well. Still with it is Junker. Good job to keep it alive for Krivahisha. He moves it low off of Pavanka's stick, but Andrzak steps up. Vipers working it well. Oh, Andrzak just missed Krivahisha from behind the net, and it rolls towards the Detroit empty net, and it'll go wide. That would have gone in. Krivahisha comes back to get it.
Oh, man.
Detroit still controlling the play. It's been nearly a minute now since the delayed penalty was signaled by Luke Galvin. The Vipers overlead the pass up the right side, and Circa rifled it right into the Detroit bench. The Vipers will have a power play when we return. 11:56 to go in the first. No score on the Detroit Viper Hockey Network. Coming up at the Palace, Elton John tomorrow, an 8 o'clock show. Then John Michael Montgomery with Diamond Rio and David Lee Murphy on Saturday, October the 21st. You can get your tickets by calling the Palace box office or stop by any Ticketmaster location. Brad Tiley goes off for an obstruction call, and Detroit will get its first power play of the game. Although, Bobby, they basically almost had a full 2-minute power play just moments ago.
Yeah, that was interesting. With 11 players on the ice, 6 for the Detroit, 5 for Orlando. It's amazing that they held the puck that long.
Through the middle, Shaw finds Chagorovsky ahead, and that'll be ruled a 2-line pass, says Derek Martin. And Brad Shaw with a very good case, I think.
Yeah, without seeing a replay, just by watching the flow of the game, it looked like it was onside.
He was clearly in the neutral zone from our angle, and our angle's very good. It was right in front of us. And Shaw was very quick to dispute the call. Derek Martin, an interesting story, a one-time referee at this level, has now become a linesman. But he made the call, and he's the only one that really matters. Shaw will bring it to center, almost lost it to Frederick. Now it's kicked into the zone, and Joyce picks it up. Chagorovsky comes over and makes a nice play to just knock the puck free.
Beautiful hit by Oleg. He just concentrated on the body, didn't care where the puck went.
Now Chagorovsky has it on left wing and into the Orlando zone. To the corner, will feed it off the backboards. Loach wants to get it back to the point and does. Shaw quickly moves it across. Chagorovsky winds into one wide on the short side. It'll bounce around the boards. Frederick gets there first, and he clears.
Good hustle by Frederick getting over there and beating Shaw to the puck. Shaw pinched in, but Frederick had one step on him and cleared it down the ice.
A minute to go in Detroit's first power play of the game. Andrzak winds it up through the middle for Pavanka on the right side, trying to go around Circa, gets it to the right wing corner. Duncanson comes over to help out. He's able to squirt it through to Joe Day. Day takes the hit. Pavanka moves the puck back to Andrzak. Vipers are set up now with the extra man. Down low to Day, walks out in front, moves it across. Chagorovsky didn't recognize the pass till almost it was too late. Now fed it in front. It bounces to Day, who hit the crossbar.
He fired that through traffic and hit the post hard.
Now Chagorovsky from the top of the circle, and his shot deflected on the way. It went off of LaRose, bounces right back to Guy in front. His stick was being hooked, couldn't pull the trigger. Chagorovsky keeps it in. Another penalty coming up to Orlando. The Vipers should give the puck up, and they do now on the backboards, and they're going to have a 2-man advantage for a little over 20 seconds.
Orlando could have had 5 penalties in a matter of 30 seconds there. Galvin let the first 4 go and finally called the last one. Joe Day taking a beating in front, knows he has to sacrifice on the ball.
Gila Rose was being hooked and held in front as well, and I think one of the question marks for Detroit this season coming into the year is minus Daniel Shank, who's going to stand in front of the net, specifically on the power play, take the punishment and try to tip the puck. We just got a real good dose of who we may see doing it all year.
Well, both LaRose and Day are big, strong guys, and they have a scoring touch, so they can take a beating out front and not retaliate and still get the stick on loose pucks.
Joe Day making a bid there. Day had a couple of goals in the opener against Orlando.
Well, you see right here in front of that, there's one cross-check, and that's the one he elects to call, but before that, there was quite a bit of holding going on. Circa's a big, strong kid. He knows he can get away with a lot more during a penalty. With Orlando already being a man down, he can be a little more physical in front of the net, and he hits the Rose from behind.
Important first 23 seconds here, because that's what still remains in Tiley's obstruction call. So Detroit, if they could score in that span, would stay on the power play and take the lead.
Yeah, what they want to do here, too, is win this draw, get it back to a point, try and draw one of the Orlando defenders up high, and then work it back down low.
Savaglia does win the draw for Chagorovsky. Now Shaw's one-timer, pad save, Bester in the rebound, put right on by Bondra, and Bester covers up.
Good job by Bester. He allowed a little rebound there, but it was a real tough shot because Junker was screened. Shaw had it right on that low corner. Junker did get the rebound, but he was in real tight and he held. Bester stayed, held his ground and tied the second shot up. Here's the first save, real nice pad save. Junker sticks with the puck. Was in too tight to get it up in the air, which I'm sure he was trying to do. Bester threw his leg out again and made a great second save.
Still 13 seconds in the two-man advantage. Savaglia wins the draw. Chagorovsky with a bullet kicked away by Bester. To the far side, Junker pays the price, kicks it up the wall. Joyce moves it through Chagorovsky at the point. And that'll do it for the first penalty. Tiley will come out of the box. Detroit still on the power play.
Really good hockey early by both sides. Good penalty killing, good power play, and great transition.
Detroit's second power play of the game. This is Lonnie Loach at center. He'll circle back away from Jeff Reed. And now finds Chagorovsky on the right side. Gets the red line and drives it around the dasher. Richardson, Savaglia go after it on the near side. They muck for it along the wall. Dug to the corner. Junker goes after it, tips it back for Loach, who hit the side of the net and then got it back on his stick. Comes in front. Couldn't get his shot through. Bounces back to Chagorovsky at the right point. Oleg takes a look and moves it across to Shaw. One-timer through traffic. Right on the rebound, trying to sweep it on net was Loach as he fell down. Shaw kept it in. Loach goes after it. Boy, Junker parking himself in front as well, working real hard. Chagorovsky with a nice job initially to keep it in. And now the puck played by a high stick is the ruling on the linesman, and that a big break for Detroit because Reed was coming back 2-on-1.
Yeah, Shaw did a good job of hanging in the offensive line, trying to hold the puck in. The puck was tipped with a high stick, or else Orlando would have had a 2-on-1 with Shaw being caught up.
Still 50 seconds in the penalty to Circa.
Loach does a beautiful job hanging onto the puck there, turning, pivoting, skating backwards through the slot, which is an invitation to get creamed. But fortunately for him, nobody hits him. Gets a shot on net through traffic, and Bester makes another good save.
9:09 to go, no score in the first period from Orlando. Detroit on the power play. Orlando wins the draw. Patrick Neaton sends it the length of the sheet.
Detroit's done a real nice job from their point man, getting shots on net.
Andrzak pushes it ahead. Pavanka moves it to the right side. In came Bondra, left it on the wall for Pavanka. Back to Andrzak at the line. Now across. This is Michael Stewart. Stewart takes it to the corner, fed it behind the net for Bondra. Peter Bondra fighting along the wall, does get it free, hits the brakes, goes back behind the net. Looks to give it back out to Pavanka, sends it to the line. Andrzak one touches it right back to him. Top of the circle now, low for Bondra. Bondra trying to rifle it in front, went right through LaRose.
LaRose was screened a little bit by Besser. That puck went right by his stick. If it hit his stick, it possibly would have went in the net.
Just 5 seconds remain in the Detroit power play. Circle will come out of the box as Pavanka comes into the zone, but offside are the Vipers, and still 1 second remains in the penalty to Jeff Circa.
Both teams' power play, although there hasn't been a goal scored, seem to be clicking. A lot of pressure on both ends.
8:20 to go in the first period. Both teams have had 2 chances on the power play. Still officially on their second are the Vipers, but it will last only 1 more second before Circa comes out of the box. And over to talk to him, Craig Duncanson, the captain, as he tells him they want him to jump right out and join the play. Face off from outside the Orlando blue line.
Duncanson wearing the C. He's over and tells Circa where to go. And Duncanson's been around a while. Has had a great career in the American League as well as coming over here in Orlando.
Out of the box comes Circa. The teams are even strength. Puck set deep into the Detroit zone. Krivahisha comes back to get it. Gets a little help from Williams, his defensive partner, and finds Joe Day to the near side. Rink wide for Craighead. Ahead at center for David Emma. Good pass, and Emma fires one wide. Bester appeared to really just muff that one as it just did miss the far post.
Looked like a little sinker, kind of dipped on the way to the net.
Cleared back to the Detroit zone, and Emma will bring it back as he's fed at center. David Emma rolls one towards the net, and again, Bester had a little trouble with a knuckler, but he kicked it away to the corner. Emma working hard as Circa rides him to the corner, goes in behind the net, and another penalty coming up to Orlando. An interference call as Circa stayed on Emma a little bit too long. Detroit back on the power play when we return. No score, 7:42 to go in the first on the Viper Hockey Network. Don't miss the Pistons season opener November the 3rd, a 7:30 tip-off as Doug Collins begins his tenure against the New York Knicks. Seats are still available. Call 810-377-0100 or stop by any Ticketmaster location. Alan Bester about to see his 3rd straight shorthanded situation.
Yeah, he's full of sweat. Looks like he's getting a great workout early. He's had a lot of action. He's much sharper tonight than he was last weekend up in Detroit.
Vipers with a 9-5 shot advantage And Bester has been sharp, making all 9 saves. No score, 7:42 to go on the first. Detroit 0 for 2 on the power play to begin their third. Savaglia will take the draw against Buffet in the ring to the right of Alan Bester. Savaglia fighting on the boards, trying to get it back to Shaw at the point. Brad had to come back defensively as it's cleared into the Detroit zone. Chagorovsky sends it across to him. Good play by Shaw there as he drew the check. Duncanson came all the way over to him before he gave it back to Chagorovsky.
Patience.
Savaglia will feather it up the boards into the Orlando zone. Loach after it. Duncanson puts a shoulder to him. Over comes Day to try to dig it free. He and Duncanson battle along the backboards. They both go down. Joe keeps it alive, gets back up, and has it on his stick. Comes around, rolls it right through the slot. But Buffet comes up with it and clear.
What a great effort by Joe Day. Knocked Duncanson off the puck. Continued on, grinded along the boards, and tried to stuff it on the short side.
Loach ahead for Savaglia. Stood up at the blue line. Puck loose in the neutral zone. Lonnie comes up and gets it. Loach in on left wing with a shot. Glove save. Bester, he'll hold on.
Although that was off the angle by Loach, it was an excellent save by Bester. Puck was wobbling a little as it came into Bester. He seemed to sink a little, and Bester still managed to get his glove on.
Well, Lonnie Loach has started hot this season. 5 points in 2 games, made a series bid for his 6th.
Well, former 50-goal scorer in Loach, that's right where he wants to be, coming down his strong side wing. Little angle to shoot. He got good wood on it. Bester just made a great save.
A little over a minute remains in the Detroit man advantage. Face-off will be in the circle to the right of Bester. Detroit has carried the play over the course of the last 7 or so minutes.
They've done a good job, John, on the face-offs, too, especially with the man advantage. So we'll see if they win it here and keep possession.
Pavanka to oppose Reed. Looking at Andrzak back at the point. LaRose got it back to Andrzak. Now to Guy LaRose on the near side. LaRose, rim of the left wing circle, sends it low for Pavanka. Across now to Bondra, back out, looking at Krivahisha, instead gives it to Pavanka. Pavanka feeds it across, and LaRose deflected it wide. Boy, they've been leaving Guy LaRose alone in front of the power play, and that can't last too long if you're Orlando.
Well, Pavanka's doing a nice job of just taking what they give him. He gets the puck in the corner, looks to the slot. If the slot's covered, he slides it across the crease to the far side wing.
Here he comes again on right wing, looking for a drop pass. Got it to Krivahisha. Backhander right on Bester with the save again. Rebound knocked to the corner. Bondra sends it out high. This is Andrzak. Fakes the shot. Now moves it to the left side. Krivahisha winds into one. That's on net, and Bester pounces on the rebound as it lay in front.
Excellent puck movement by Detroit. They're just taking what Orlando gives them and seem to be making all the right decisions. Now they just have to get one by Bester.
Yeah, despite the offer on the power play, certainly not because it hasn't been a sharp power play unit.
Well, this is a perfect example where the coach will come in and say, don't change a thing, guys. I know you're probably getting frustrated because you have nothing to show for it, but don't change anything. Just keep going. Krivahisha looks, sees he's got a good angle to the net, forces Bester to make a good save. Bester goes out and gets the rebound as Neaton clears LaRose away. Still seems to be a lot of holding going on in front of the net, John. They said they were going to clean that up. Doesn't seem it tonight.
25 seconds remains in the Orlando penalty. Pavanka comes out along with LaRose, Bondra, Krivahisha, and Andrzak.
It's nice to see 2 NHL goalies here in Bester and Berthiaume. They really handle their rebounds well. Mostly anyone can make the first save if they have a good look at it.
Vipers win the draw. Andrzak at the line almost lost it. Now does as he moves it through the middle, and Dave Barr clears. Still time for one rush on the power play if the Vipers move. Krivahisha gets it into the zone, moves up the left wing boards, got double teamed. Barr comes back and pitches at the length of the sheet. That's going to do it for the penalty. Circle will come out of the box, and the teams are even strength. Detroit is now 0 for 3 with the extra man. 5:40 to go in the first period. No score. Vipers get it to the line. Circa broke that up, and a penalty coming up to Andrzak as he tripped up Duncanson in the neutral zone. And Andy will turn himself in as he reports immediately to the Detroit sin bin.
Tough play for Andrzak. Carried the puck up nicely, got to the red line, let up a bit just to dump it in softly. Puck jumped over his stick. Appears he doesn't even know he did it. He might have been looking away, left his stick there knowing Duncanson was going by, but the puck hopped over Andrzak's stick before he was able to dump it in. Fell to Orlando making a transition play and just tripped up Duncanson. Not quite sure if he actually saw what he was doing or not. He might have knew what he was doing and just looked away to appear he wasn't aware of it.
You know, we talked at length about this before the opener because of the projected rule changes, if you will. We thought we'd see a lot of power play time. We didn't really see a lot of it. in the opener, nor really, for that matter, that much of it in the Chicago game on Saturday. But here we are, 6th power play of the period. We have yet to play 15 minutes. That's nearly 12 minutes of power play time.
There really has been a lot of holding and hooking going on tonight, though. The pace is so fast.
Michael Stewart for Detroit on the penalty kill will flip it from his own blue line all the way behind the Orlando net. Orlando 0 for 2 on the power play, just over 5 minutes to go in the first period. Patrick Neaton motors to center, sent it to Buffet on the right side. He got bumped by David Williams as he lost the puck, and Joe Day comes up with it and ices the puck.
Beautiful hit by Williams. Just stepped up and forced the play before the blue line. Orlando coughed it up.
Longtime veteran Dave Barr brings it back to center for the Bears and flips it in behind the Detroit net. Bertium, who hasn't seen action in a long time, plays it behind the net. Shaw didn't get it out as he sent it around the dasher. Stays with it after Duncanson knocked it down. Now does clear. And away to center. Vipers possible 2-on-1. Day across the line has Emma. Gave it to him and he's offside.
Well, tough break for Dave Emmer. I think he made the right play going to the net there and not waiting up. Unfortunately for Joe Day, as he pulled it up, maybe the ice stuck a little. The puck was a little slower getting to his forehand than he thought, and by that time Emmer had just stepped over the line.
David Emma, who played his college hockey at Boston College. A very strong collegiate career, comes over from the New Jersey Devils just a couple of days ago.
Dave Emmer's a good skater. He adds to Detroit's speed. Detroit's already considered a quick team, and with Emmer stepping in, just makes them faster.
Pavanka takes the draw against Alfie Turcotte. Orlando will reset on the power play. Still over a minute remaining in the extra man time as Richards sends it into the Detroit zone. Shaw in the far corner sent it ahead, but a delayed offside is called.
That might be an icing.
I was going to say, it's either a delayed offside or an icing, and if it's an icing, and it appears it is, that's a bit of a mistake for Orlando. Daniel Bertium, who saw some action early, but has only seen 5 of the 17 shots so far in the opening period.
Yeah, although the tempo has been pretty equal, Detroit's had much better quality chances.
Bertium making 24 saves in his shutout regular season debut against Chicago back last Saturday. Off the draw, Orlando controls. Tiley moves it behind the net to Richards. He will quarterback this power play unit. Ahead for Tiley on the right side. Gave it back to him, went right through him. Bondra wants to go after it. Almost put the stick on Richards to hook his way by, but chose not to. And now inside half a minute to go in the Orlando power play. They dump it into the Detroit end. Chagorovsky gets it around. Bondra can't push it the rest of the way. Tiley held it in. Now Pavanka comes up with a loose puck and sends it the length of the ice. The race is on. Bondra will get there first unless Bester knocks it away, and Allen had to come way out to clear. Pavanka, though, knocked it down to the neutral zone. He and Bondra 2-on-1 the other way, but they just can't keep control of the puck. As Andrzak stands ready to come out of the Detroit box. Turcotte brings it back into the Detroit end. Sent it to Fisher. Shot! Oh, deflected away as Bertium just got a piece of it. Andrzak is out of the box. The teams are even strength. And he comes out and just backhands it out of harm's way all the way back into the Orlando zone.
Big save for Bertium there after being quiet for a while.
Turcotte gets it into the Detroit zone again for Fisher. Fisher had it poked off his stick. Loach in transition the other way. Ahead for Joseph Cherney, and he got checked by Jeff Reed, who just came right off the Orlando bench and picked him up.
Oh, that was very convenient for Orlando.
Cleared to the Detroit line. Krivahisha pushes it ahead for Loach. His pass broken up by Circa. And a good play coming back by Krivahisha to knock it away from Mike Hartman. Barry Drager all the way back in his own zone to get it inside. 3 minutes to go in a scoreless first period. Ahead for Dave Barr. Barr had Hartman with him. Wanted to just dump it in, but Krivahisha got that one off the leg. Now Drager will dump. Behind the net, Bertium does a nice job to stop it. Barr in on the forecheck, and now Reed intercepts in the corner. Loach put the hook on him. Puck back in behind the net. Hartman fed it in front for Reed, and it bounced off his stick. Savaglia came back and made a heady play just to get it off the dasher and out. Circa will drive it back around the dasher, and again it's Hartman on the far side. Wanted to center. It came through Savaglia. Loach got a skate on it, and now Krivahisha will carry to center. Yuri Krivahisha gets the red line, steers it in deep, and a much-needed change for the Vipers will be gotten.
It's a good job by Detroit to stay down and support low. Savaglia was allowed to chip one of those passes in the slot out of his own.
Alan May rolls it back into the Detroit end, and Chagorovsky comes out to get it. For Joe Day, who quickly moves it across the zone, and away come the Vipers. Shaw pushes it ahead. On the right side, LaRose pokes it through the check as he got dumped in front of the Orlando bench. He is cut, he is down, and he is bleeding. Is Guy LaRose. Wow. And Bill Murray quick off the Detroit bench to attend to him. We'll tell you about his condition when we return. Inside 2 to go on a scoreless first on the Viper Hockey Network.
Well, as LaRose heads off to the Viper locker room with Bill Murray, he appears to be a bad gash on his forehead or above his eye. He's coming down the boards here. Brad Tiley sees the puck loose, comes over to hit him. As he hits him, LaRose spins off, and Brad's skate hits LaRose right in the face.
That's just a bad break for LaRose.
He skated off under his own power, so
he seemed very frustrated as he went off as well. I think he realizes what has happened, and he's just frustrated by the bad break. Still no score inside the final 2 minutes of the opening period, and we'll try to get a report on LaRose for you as quickly as possible. Puck played by a high stick, I believe, was the call in the neutral zone. Michael Stewart, the newest Viper defenseman.
Well, he's done exactly what they're looking for in the first period here. He's been physical and he's been hitting.
And the former Viper Brad Tiley, who of course was unfortunately inadvertently involved in the play. There's still a great deal of blood on the ice right in front of the Orlando bench.
That was totally accidental.
Yeah.
It was a good play by Tiley to come over and stand up on LaRose. Just unfortunate for Guy.
Guy was just trying to avoid the check and instead found his way to Brad's skate. Puck dumped into the Detroit zone. Junker bumped hard in the corner by LeBlanc. They fall on top of the puck, and Luke Galvin with a quick whistle. And we'll have a face-off in the Detroit zone.
It's a good time to call a quick whistle with 2 players down on the ice.
Detroit with a 2-to-1 shot advantage, 12-6. $1:17 to go in the opening period. We talked a lot about emotion at the outset, Bobby. I don't think it's really been a factor.
No, it hasn't, because the play has been generally even with the exception of the power plays that Detroit, the pressure they put on. It's been an excellent played period.
Puck to the corner off the draw. LeBlanc goes after it, is able to move it low for Duncanson. Duncanson gives it back to him on the left wing wall. He'll send it across. Tyler steps up off the point and sends it down low. Duncanson has a man on him. Good job by Pavanka defensively. Just erased Duncanson. Got the puck ahead for Junker. Now less than a minute to go in the period. Comes right back down low to Duncanson, who got it on net. Williams came over and bumped him. He didn't get much on the shot. Cleared to center, and here's Bondra on his horse. Got Junker, possible 2-on-1. Bondra scores! Whoa, he went upstairs. A big-time shot. It's 1-0.
He picked that puck up in the neutral zone. He just decided what he was going to do right away. Straight at Neaton, who was back, but over the blue line and just ripped a wrist shot in the upper corner.
Well, you may not see a harder wrist shot all season. Bondra goes over the left shoulder of Alan Bester.
Wow, that's big league right there. He does everything strong. He just makes his mind up right here. Head down, he's just barreling. Now he gets to where he considers himself dangerous. Steps in, Neaton backs off a little and just rips it. Uses Neaton as a screen. That's big league.
Third in as many games for Peter Bondra in Detroit. Has a 1-0 lead. Time of the goal will be 19:13 of the first period. Boy, and coaches harp on that first and last minute of periods or first and last shifts of the game. And now falling down in his own zone, Krivahisha loses it and Barr scores.
Right place at the right time for Dave Barr, and he makes Detroit pay.
For the first time this season, Daniel Berthiaume is beaten just 10 seconds after Bondra had given Detroit the lead.
Well, it's really surprising that Barr shot from where he did. Krivahisha fell down. Barr was all alone. Well, obviously, Barr made the right decision, though, because he did score the goal, but he shot it from the top of the circle, and it was a nice shot right through the 5-hole.
Well, Krivahisha was getting back in the play, and I think he had a chance to cut the angle, so Barr wanted to get the shot away while he could, and obviously it was a good one.
He got it off quick enough before Daniel Berthiaume could recover and come over on the angle, so it was a good choice by Barr. It was a nice shot right through the legs.
Unassisted, his first of the season. Back comes Jeff Reed, possible 2-on-1. Tries to slide it across to Hartman, and a good job by Tierney, who's going to take a penalty as he came back and hooked Hartman out of the play, but that's a penalty he pretty much had to take.
Well, we just, one shift before that, we talked about the emotion not being much of a factor. One mistake for Detroit with Krivahisha slipping a goal, and now they just almost gave up another goal on perhaps a bad decision in the neutral zone and allowing Orlando with a 2-on-1. Here's a look at Joe Cherney, who made a nice play coming back on Hartman. He saved the goal by taking that penalty.
Well, there's good penalties and there's bad penalties. I think Joseph Cherney just took a good one.
Well, if you see here, look how long Cherney comes back. He's at least 6 or 7 strides behind Hartman. Hartman had to wait up for Reed at the blue line, allow Cherney to get back into play. It was a nice play by Cherney. For Detroit, though, it's a bad decision to get caught up at the blue line and allow a 2-on-1.
The hook with just 15 seconds remaining in the period. And the Vipers obviously want to look to just get out of the period even here and then begin the second period on the penalty kill. Face off in the Detroit zone. Duncanson trying to quickly get it back to the point, kicks it to Richards. Richards gives it back to Duncanson, rim of the left wing circle, takes a look across. One-timer saved by Bertium as he got it over to LeBlanc, who I don't think got as much on it as he wanted. Inside 5 seconds to go in the period.
Well, you see that a lot, especially with a goal scorer like LeBlanc. He'll sacrifice power on a shot sometimes just to get it off quick. He knew the puck came across the neutral zone, or rather across the slot, so he just tried to get it on net before Bertium could get over. Good shot. Bertium had to make a nice save, although it wasn't quite as hard as LeBlanc might have liked to have shot it.
So 4.8 ticks remain in the opening period, and a big face-off in the circle to the right of Bertium.
It's a big face-off right here from both teams. Detroit really wants to win this and run out the period.
Savaglia, the top face-off man for Detroit, to oppose Dave Barr, who's thrown from the circle, and now Mark Bouffet will take it for the Bears. Savaglia wins it. It rolls to the side of the net. Bertium pokes it to the corner. Bouffet sends it back out high. It'll go to the neutral zone. The horn will sound. And the first ever period of Orlando Solar Bear hockey in the Florida City. A pretty good period of hockey.
Excellent period of hockey. These teams look like they've been playing for 2 months and battled each other.
It's all even after 20 minutes from the Orlando Arena. Our score, the Detroit Vipers won. The Orlando Solar Bears won on the Detroit Viper Hockey Network. John Alers alongside my color analyst Bobby J. And Bobby, a great period of hockey. I no doubt that you mentioned it looked like these teams have been together all year.
Yeah, it was excellent hockey. The fans have to be ecstatic with this play as well as the coaches. For Orlando, they got to be excited with the last minute of play, and hopefully for them can roll it over into the next period.
Well, we talked about emotion perhaps playing a factor. We didn't see it till late in the period, but it appeared that the momentum might have swung back Orlando's way.
Yeah, it really did. Right now for Detroit, this is going to be huge. The next few shifts coming out in the second. Also for Orlando, because they want to keep this rolling. They're happy with that period, especially the last 5 minutes, and Detroit's just going to go in, regroup, and come back out and start off the second period the way they started off the first, mostly controlling the play.
A break for Detroit, at least in the penalty killing department. They have killed all 3 Orlando power plays in this one so far, and it's nice to break that up. They go into the locker room shorthanded, but they've killed it at least the first 15 seconds. Now they can rest, start the period fresh.
Yeah, they do, especially with the defense. The defense usually the first set on a penalty will be put out there. Now where they would have to go their second set, their first set gets a rest with the break in the periods. Now they'll come back out fresh and hopefully get the kill for the remainder of the power play.
Daniel Bertium has been very strong in goal thus far for Detroit. Finally beaten by the Dave Barr goal, and I think it was almost an icebreaker. Both goals come in the final minute. It's so often that you see something like that, a scoreless period for so long, and then both teams score very quickly.
Yeah, they do. Orlando rolled that emotion right in. After they scored that goal, again, they came back with a great second chance where Cherney took the penalty. So Orlando's got to be real happy with the end, as we said, and I expect them to come out in this power play and really put pressure on Detroit.
This being Detroit's first road game of the season, it's a difficult road trip. They're going to play 3 in 3 nights, and oftentimes you can set a tone for a season, even on that first road trip of the year, can't you?
Yeah, you can. I mean, they're happy with last weekend winning 2 games at home, but most teams are expected to win at home. You define what kind of team you have by winning on the road. So with Detroit coming out playing 3 games in 3 different cities this weekend, it should be real interesting to see how they perform on the road.
We're going to go downstairs now, where we're joined by former Viper Mike Hartman, who is now on board with the Orlando Solar Bears, and we understand Mike's been having some trouble hearing us, but he can hear us now. Mike, you made the choice to come to Orlando this season. I want to go back to the end of last season. You played in front of the family and the friends for the first time professionally in your career. What was it like doing that in Detroit? Obviously, we're having some problems technically. Still unable to hear us downstairs is Mike Hartman. It's very, very loud in this building right now, and I don't know whether or not he can hear us yet or not. Apparently not. 1-1, Orlando and Detroit are tied. Well, We're going to try to go downstairs now. Mike Hartman is standing by, the former Viper. Mike, if you can hear me, what was it like last year for the first time in your pro career playing in front of the friends and family in Detroit? And apparently,
Talking to me now?
Mike,
Oh, it was great. You know, it was a good situation last year. I wasn't playing much in New York, so I went home and played. It's unfortunate I got hurt at the end, but, you know, Detroit's a great organization. It was a lot of fun.
Well, Mike, this is Bobby J up here. I know last year you broke your hand at the end of the year, and I was just wondering how that healed over the summer, and you're obviously skating well tonight. Do you feel comfortable, and are you happy to be here in Orlando?
I can't even hear. I'm sorry. It's so loud.
yeah, it's very, very loud up here. I think if they could turn the music up, that would be nice. But, Mike, we appreciate you taking the time. We're going to let you get back to the room. Best of luck to Mike Hartman the rest of the way. We'll take a break as well. It's a 1-1 tie, the Orlando Solar Bears and the Detroit Vipers on the Viper Hockey Network. It's a 1-1 tie between the Orlando Solar Bears and the Detroit Vipers after one period of play at the Orlando Arena. As the 95-96 season gets underway, there have been some changes with the Detroit Vipers personnel and also on the bench. Rick Dudley still in place as the head coach, but he has a new assistant. And we take a look now at the new man behind the pine, assistant coach Steve Ludzick. From the conclusion of the 1994-95 International Hockey League season to the opening of the 95-96 campaign, much has changed for the Detroit Vipers. There has been roughly a 40% turnover on the roster, a change in divisions, and a new associate coach behind the bench to join Rick Dudley. Steve Ludzick has joined Dudley behind the Detroit Pine, replacing the departed Robbie Nichols, who left to take the head coaching position with the Flint Generals of the Colonial League. Ironically, Ludzick comes to the Vipers following a 2-year stint as the head coach of the Muskegon Fury of the Colonial League. For many, the move from the head coach's position to that of an assistant would be difficult, but not so for Ludzick.
Well, not really, because I basically believe that, especially if you're going to step up to this league, I have no idea who some of these players are or what their strengths and weaknesses are. I think you have to know the league to be a head coach, especially in this tempo, and how big the league is also. So it wasn't a difficult decision at all. Plus, I had 2 years in Muskegon and done pretty good, had some good success, and thought it was time to make a move. And Rick was the guy who got me into coaching a couple of years ago, and he asked me if I wanted to come over, and I said, yeah, sure.
Ludzick spent 9 years as a player in the National Hockey League, 8 of those with the Chicago Blackhawks, and the final year of his career with the Buffalo Sabres, where he was coached by Dudley. Their relationship continued from there, as Dudley explains.
I coached him in Buffalo. I liked him as a player. I liked his attitude. I helped him get his first coaching job in Muskegon. He rewarded me by doing a tremendous job. Was named the coach of the year in the Colonial League last year, and we always got along well. And when this year we talked, and the more we talked, the more it made sense, and I think he was excited about the fact that he could work for this organization and with a pretty good friend, and we just get along extremely well. He's also, you know, it's one of those situations where you as a head coach and as a general manager, you're very lucky to be able to deflect some of the responsibilities to a guy like Steve, because he's not only has he handled a lot of these situations before, but he's excellent at it.
Ludzick now enters the 3rd year of his coaching career after being named Colonial League Coach of the Year last season. But he admits coaching wasn't always on his mind.
Well, I didn't think about it, obviously, when you're playing junior hockey, and obviously your priority number one is to go and play in the National Hockey League, and I was lucky enough to get that. I think I started focusing on coaching probably my last 3 or 4 years playing, but for me it was a difficult decision. As a junior, I was a big scorer, and when I turned pro, they made me play defensive hockey. I was a defensive specialist. I was a guy, and the guys I played junior with said, geez, you know, it's amazing watching you play defensive hockey. And I think that everything's meant for a reason, and it's very easy for me to explain to somebody defensive hockey, because it wasn't natural for me. I had to learn it and figure out why you are doing the things you have to do out in the ice. So I understand what young guys coming out of junior, what they're thinking. They're thinking run and shoot all the time, and that works in my favor, I think.
Known for their intensity, Dudley and Ludzick could be a volatile pairing to some, but they each insist it should be a positive for one another, and just in case, they've worked out a little deal.
Unless you're extremely intense, as both of us are, then you can't understand when somebody's Not losing it, but when you're getting emotionally into the situation. So, and by the same token, if someone who you know knows how you're feeling says that, you know, duds or luds, it's time to cool it, then I think you respect that coming from them. If you've never understood that, it's kind of like a hockey player talking to a non-hockey player about the game. You don't reflect the same way. And I think as a coach who's been a very intense coach and another coach who's been a very intense coach, you can understand what it's like in certain situations and how that emotion is taking hold on you. And I think we can help each other that way, and we've kind of made it a pact that we're both going to be calm and cool this year.
We're through one period of play from the Orlando Arena, and we'll be back with more after this on the Detroit Viper Hockey Network.
Second?
Yeah. Back at the Orlando Arena where it's a 1-1 tie. A pair of unassisted goals, both coming in the last minute of the first period. Peter Bondra is a highlight filmer all the way, Bob.
Yeah, well, this is beautiful to see. He picks the puck up in the neutral zone. He just makes his decision. He's going to go to the net, force somebody to play me, and if the shot's there, he lets it rip. Pat Neaton's got to be a little nervous seeing this. When you see a goal scorer and a good skater like him come through the neutral zone with speed, gets to the blue line, gets to a dangerous area. Neaton gets the sweep check out, but Bondra just rips the wrist shot up in the top corner. Beautiful goal.
That's why he led the NHL in goals a year ago, and it's his third in 3 games since he joined the Vipers. Dave Barr, just 10 seconds later, tied the game.
Tough break for Detroit, but a smart play by Barr. Patience just waits in the right position. Krivahija slips, falls down. Barr gets the shot off. Possibly there. It looked like it might have hit Krivahija's stick on the way in, but nevertheless, it went through the 5-hole on Berthiaume. Krivahija down, Barr picks it up, shoots it, prepared to just go through Berthiaume's legs. Good shot by Barr.
And then a late penalty on Detroit will render them shorthanded as the second period gets underway. These shots, very dominant by Detroit until the latter stages. At one point, they had a 12-5 shot advantage in this game. They even up down the stretch. And we mentioned the power play opportunities. Both teams go 0 for 3. We saw a lot of special teams play.
Yeah, we did. That's exactly what we discussed all week long, starting from last week, about all the penalties that were going to be called. But tonight there really has been a lot of holding and hooking, and we commented that could be because of the tempo of the play. But Galvin's been calling them, and he should be, because there is a lot of holding going on, especially in danger areas around the front of the net.
Vipers make their way back out onto the ice, about set to begin the second period shorthanded. But we have received word from the Detroit locker room that Guy Larose has a pretty large gash somewhat around his eye, but also the good word, Bobby, is it's not all that deep, we're told, and he still could return to tonight's game.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear. Around the eye, but we want to emphasize it's not in a danger area as far as his vision or his eyesight. Just got it on the outside of his eye, probably right at the hairline. And it appears that he really wasn't kicked hard. It was more of a slice. That's why there was so much blood. But he wasn't kicked with a lot of force. It was almost like a slice. And so although it was a deep cut with a lot of blood, it appears that it didn't hurt his eye, and it wasn't with a lot of force.
And that is, of course, first and foremost, that he hasn't lost any vision or isn't that badly hurt. So we'll see if he shall return. Coming up at the Palace on Thursday, the Vipers will host Fort Wayne, a 7:30 face-off. Stick around after the game. You can pick up some autographs from your favorite Vipers. You can also get tickets by calling 810-377-0100 or stop by any Ticketmaster location. You can also still pick up on the season tickets for this 95-96 campaign, including 3 mini-season ticket packages that are currently available. The number to call once again, 810-377-0100. Alan Bester getting set to get his crease the way he likes it. You get the feeling, Bob, here tonight, and I don't mean any ill will by this, but this could be a long hockey game.
Yeah, you know, there's really a feeling of electricity in the air right now. The fans were really impressed with the play. They gave a standing ovation, I think, to both teams, especially obviously to Orlando, because they put pressure on the last minute there with the goal and all.
And it was, as you mentioned, an excellent period of hockey.
It really was, and I'm impressed with the fans' knowledge of the game. Obviously, there's a lot of people that have been watching hockey for a long time, but down here in Florida, it's nice to see the fans really appreciating good hockey, because that was an excellent period.
It's a long walk to the frozen pond when you grow up in the Sunshine State.
Certainly is.
They were not necessarily expecting a capacity crowd for this one here tonight, but they said the possibility remained if the walk-up was strong enough. And when you and I came over to the arena quite a while before the game, We did notice there was a lot of media coverage. The television trucks from all around the Metro Orlando area, all the television stations were reporting on this one and covering it live on their 6 o'clock news. So certainly an early big splash for the Solar Bears.
Yeah, it's great to see, especially from what I understand. There's a lot of transplanted Northerners that moved down here, obviously, so I'm sure they've all been exposed to hockey when they were younger, or, coming down from the Northeast and Midwest, but they seem to know the hockey. They seem to be happy with the level of play right now.
Yeah, you and I were approached by some fans before the game saying they'd seen NHL action here before. Some of the neutral site games and preseason games had been played in this very arena, but they're getting exposed to the IHL, and as you mentioned, talking about that opening period, I think they've got to be impressed with what they've seen. And a great first period of hockey here. I'm just concerned at the lengths of the intermissions and the pregame show if we're going to get out of here before Saturday morning tonight.
Yeah, I didn't mean to change the subject there when you discussed it might be a long game. They seem to be getting some of the glitches out. They had 2 Zambonis out there, but they were doing a combined 2 miles an hour, so I don't think it sped anything up other than it looked pretty flashy. But other than that, the play's good, and that's holding everything else together. We got a bit of a late start, and the intermissions are taking a while, but hopefully that'll get ironed out.
Dave Barr wins the draw in the second period. At last is underway. It begins with Orlando on the power play. Mark Buffet at his own line drops it for Patrick Neaton ahead to the line. Barr unable to steer it in as Chagorovsky got a piece of it. A minute 45 remained in the penalty to Joseph Cherney as the period began just 20 seconds ago. Now Barr on the right side. Bumped by Pavanka. Went right through his stick check and carries into the zone. Has Duncanson with him. Moves it behind the net. Craig Duncanson goes after it, sweeps it around to the near side. Buffet will control. Couldn't keep it in, though, as it was swept away. Good bit of penalty killing by the Vipers, and Neaton has to come back to his own stripe to get it.
Good support by Shaw. Comes over and helps Bonder and shoots it down.
Buffet coughs it up in the middle, and here's a breakaway. Pavanka comes in on Bester. Shot saved as he tried to go 5-hole. Sends it back across to Bonder, who fed it across. Now to Chagorovsky. Winds into one, kicked away by Bester.
Beautiful job by Bester. Great move by Pavanka, and Bester closed his legs.
Now Duncanson into the Detroit zone, throws it off the boards to the corner, goes out to the high slot, and Shaw just poked it away. Bondra will send it the rest.
Well, Pavanka came in, caught that up and around his waist, came in, had his head up, was calm, cool, and collected, made a nice move, went through the legs, and Bester closed his legs and made a great save.
Over a minute into the period now as Alfie Turcotte gets erased up the left side. Good check by Michael Stewart, and the Vipers again clear.
He's done a good job tonight, standing up at the blue line and forcing the Orlando forwards to make a play.
Everything we expected and what we had heard is what we've seen from Michael Stewart so far. Very steady, stays at home, hasn't taken a lot of chances, and has finished his checks. To center, Richards feeds it into the Detroit zone. Fisher to the corner after Williams with the stick on him. Bouncing puck in the corner. Stewart fanned on it as he got it up the wall. Turcotte intercepts. Stewart gets a second chance and ices the puck. Cherney out of the box will get to it first. Team's even strength. Joseph Cherney looking for help. Vipers getting a change, and they'll call the illegal 2-line pass as Cherney didn't touch up the zone as he came out of the box, and the play will come back to the neutral zone. Alan Bester with a big save to keep this thing tied just moments ago as Pavanka made a short-handed bid.
Well, Pavanka just waits in the middle here. Orlando throws a soft pass out in the slot. Pavanka picks it off, walks in with plenty of time, makes a beautiful move, just hits Bester's stick before it gets through the legs. Bester held his ground well, especially I'm sure he had time to realize that was Pavanka coming down on him and had quite a trunk full of moves.
He had time to read the number.
Yeah, that's, even if you're Alan Bester, a 13-year pro and a lot of time in the NHL, you got to be a little bit nervous about Michael Pavanka coming in on a breakaway.
Face off of the ring to the right of Daniel Bertillon. Jeff Reed to take the draw for Orlando against David Emma. Emma moves it to the corner. Williams sent it to the line. Held in there by Drager, but only momentarily, and Emma clears away for Joe Day. 3-on-3, the Vipers back the other way. Dumped in, Craighead goes after it. Swept away from him, and Hartman came back to get it. Mike Hartman circles behind his own net, finds the open ice, and motors to center. Throws it to the right wing side. Staying home, Krivahisha defensively bumps Hartman to the corner as they battle for it there. Sent to the point, held in by Circa, but Emma knocked it down and cleared. Trailing the play, Joe Day 2-on-1 with Craighead. Has a trailer. It's Andrzak as well. Day walks in front, backhander, save, rebound, Andrzak, and a big save by Bester.
Great save by Bester. Greg Andrzak snuck in late there and got Joe Day's rebound. Bester held his ground again and made a nice save to save a goal.
Now we're told we will see Guy LaRose this period now. Our thanks to Jason Rothwell, the public relations director of the Vipers, who gives us a report that Guy received 10 stitches in the locker room, and we could see him and should see him this period.
That's what you got to love about hockey players. 10 stitches. Looks like about a pint of blood on the ice. He's missing probably 2 or 3 shifts, and he'll be back out there. It's good to see, though. Fester's really done a great job. Another awesome save.
Vipers have thrown 17 shots at him in just over 22 minutes. He has made 16 saves.
These are quality shots, too, John. I mean, we're not talking about flip shots from the blue line. They're walking in and
Chagorovsky one times a knuckler as the puck was on edge. As it came to him, and again it came up high on Fester. Now Bondra keeps it in, fires it down low. Pavanka gets it off the dasher. Moves to the near corner, fed it in front, deflected behind the net. Junker goes after it. Steve Junker unable to win the battle, but it's kept in at the line. Good play by Chagorovsky. Junker kept it in again, but then had it swept away to center.
Nice play by Turcotte. Picked the pass off there. That could have been dangerous.
Vipers move it back into the Orlando zone. Turcotte back in his own zone in the corner, just wants to get it out. Ahead off of Joyce, the former Las Vegas Thunder, kicks it to center. Bondra cycling back. Well, this line just is so dangerous looking every time they're on the ice, not to mention the chances they get. Pavanka, Bondra, and Junker. Cleared to center ice, and a big hit by Tierney on Joyce. Puck loose to the Detroit line. Stewart coughed it up and then got it back.
May didn't know it was in his skates there, and Stewart calmly picked it up.
Tierney and Loach try to come across the line, but that's all the further they get. Back to center, the Bears move it into the Detroit end. Alan May has it roll off his stick on net. I think the Vipers wanted an offside call there, didn't get one. Bertillon plays it away, and back comes Detroit. Tierney with a drop pass across the line. Oh, and Savaglia got run into. He saw it coming at the last moment. He's still caught in the zone, needs to touch up because Williams intercepts and then backhands it right back in. Good to see that Pete's all right after that collision.
He made such a quick move on Duncanson. They both seem to have lost their balance and ran into each other. Good play by Duncanson, though.
Back to center come the Bears. Jeff Reed pitches it into the Detroit zone, a bouncing puck. Andrzak gets to it, sent it around the wall to the near side. Tiley kept it in. Reverses it back behind the Detroit net. Emma knocks it free and moves it to center. This pass picked off by LeBlanc. And now he can only get it to the Detroit line. Andrzak will back into his own zone with it. Head on the near side. Tierney trying to squeeze it through for Emma. Ends up in the neutral zone, and Krivahisha just bangs it to the line. Tiley flips it back in. This is going to be an icing call. Bertillon played it. I don't think Danny realized it was an icing call. Orlando makes a change. Vipers break out. Possible 2-on-1. Craighead and Day rifled it wide. Craighead fires it right back through the slot before Bester could get there. Didn't have an angle to get it on net. Penalty coming up to Orlando as Day battles in the corner. And Detroit will be on the power play as Craighead is spilled at the tail end of the play. His stick sent flying. And he gets up with a word or two for Jeff Circa. A couple of big boys tangle there. But Detroit will have the extra man when we return. Just about 5 into the second, tied at 1 on the Viper Hockey Network.
Well, here we look at Pete Savaglia coming in, picks a pass off from Brad Tyler. The puck drifts out in the slot. Savaglia sees Duncanson coming across. Seems to lose his footing as he tries to avoid the check and takes a big hit from Duncanson. Then Joe Day carries it over the blue line, takes an excellent shot just wide. Craighead just gets the rebound, throws it on net. It just goes right through the crease as Bester comes back, and back to Joe Day, who continues on in the corner and creates a holding penalty. And unfortunately for the Vipers, Day's in the box.
We stand corrected. Day picked up the penalty, so Orlando on their 5th power play of the game. 0 for 4 are the Solar Bears. Thrown around to the near side. Richards kept it in at the point, backhanded it low. Shaw intercepted, got it only to the line. Turcotte hit by Bondra. That knocks the puck free, and Pavanka drops it for Brad Shaw. Shaw, the Viper, shorthanded, moves into the blast. Stick save. Fester, and Brad just got it through traffic and got it on net.
Good shot. Just used Richards as a screen and forced Bester to pick it up through the traffic.
Tiley carries in on the right side, pulls up, steers one towards the net for Tiom, sends that to the back wall. Tiley steps back up and keeps it in the zone. Now for Frederick down low. I haven't seen a lot of Joe Frederick since the very early going in this game. Tiley gets it off the backboard to Frederick, and he sent it wide. He had an empty net, and he missed it.
Beautiful pass by Tiley. Fredericks really has to convert on that play.
Parked in front. Tiley set him up. He had a 4x6. He needed a 4x7. In behind the net, Frederick again looking to get it in front. Fisher was there, but he was bumped. The pass didn't get through anyway. Now to the line, and Richards cannot hold it in. Just over half a minute in the power play. Richards sneaks it through. Fisher comes in, and he stick handles himself out of the play, then hit the side of the net.
Chagorovsky might have lifted his stick on a last-effort reach.
To the line, Richards just winds into one. Didn't get through traffic. Bondra breaking up the middle, but Pavanka couldn't get the handle and get it to him. We'll just bring it to center, lift it the rest of the way. On net, Fester plays it away. And now in front of the Detroit bench, Richards is mixed up with Chagorovsky. Frederick is mixed up with the rest of the Vipers on the bench.
Well, Bondra picked the puck up at the red line, dumped it in softly, went for a change. Frederick continued on and shoved him from behind. And Brad Shaw came in and helped Pavanka out.
And Guy LaRose making his way across the ice, returning to the Detroit bench, escorted by Bill Murray. And complete with bubblegum, LaRose getting the feel again. And as we were told, he will return.
No shield or anything, John. Well, here's Pavanka shooting it in. Comes over, gets a hit, shoves back. Frederick comes in late. 2 against 1, and Chagorovsky does a good job helping his teammate out.
Well, Frederick drew the attention of the Vipers not only with a pair of goals in the game a week ago at Detroit, but got to stick up a couple times early in the game, caught both Joe Day and Pete Savaglia. And, of course, Pavanka got the Solar Bears' attention with what eventually amounted to a major penalty and a game misconduct when he caught Alan May with his stick midway through the hockey game.
Yeah, well, that was the same shift that Frederick missed a wide-open net, and I'm not sure if it was a little frustration or if he's just trying to stir the pot up a little, but came back through the neutral zone and gave Pavanka an extra shot there.
Detroit has a 19-11 shot advantage. There is still just over 10 seconds remaining in the penalty to Joe Day. And Luke Galvin is at the scorer's bench and trying to mete out the penalties as Kurt Frazier looks on and awaits the calls.
It really feels like there's a lot of emotion down on the ice, though. You can feel it in the crowd, but with just 2 games being played between these teams, there's definitely a rivalry heating up.
Yeah, you get the feeling, I know there's all sorts of theories out there, but I know myself included and many who know the IHL also will agree that Detroit and Orlando could very well be the favorites in the division this season, and they're going to see one another quite a bit.
Obviously, we haven't seen many teams. I mean, Chicago has a good team, although they didn't play well last weekend in Detroit. But I would definitely have to say that Detroit and Orlando have to be 2 of the better teams in the league right now.
Now, so often early in the season, all the speculation is based on what you see on paper. And it's really all you have to go on until you get an opportunity to see the teams. As we see Guy LaRose sitting on the Detroit bench, and penalties have been meted out. Detroit still shorthanded for 10 more seconds, so obviously everything awash as we get the announcements to play in the Orlando zone. Day comes out of the box as Neaton moves it into the Detroit zone, and Detroit has killed another Orlando power play off. In the game last Friday, Orlando was 1 of 5 on the power play against Detroit. They are 0 for 5 tonight. Tied at 1, 12:45 to go, second period. It's been a very good and entertaining hockey game as Stewart moves it to center for Loach, gets the red line and golfs it in deep. Fester plays the carom and behind the net feeds it up the board.
Dangerous little dump in there. Fester almost missed that out in the slot.
Now Stewart loses it in the neutral zone. Duncanson gets it back in front. Shot hit the side of the net as Bertium laid the paddle down in front to cover the lower half of the net. Now Loach just trying to backhand it out of harm's way. Buffet steps up, keeps it in the zone. Now lifted to center. Savaglia sets it down and backhands it ahead. Just missed Joe Day. And Orlando's going to be called for too many men on the ice, I believe, as a whistle in the neutral zone, and we'll tell you about it when we return. 12:08 to go in the second, still tied at 1 on the Viper Hockey Network. There's a Halloween party at the Palace on Sunday, October the 29th. A 6 o'clock face-off as Detroit hosts Las Vegas. You and your family can enjoy a costume and coloring contests, safe trick-or-treating, face painting, and player autographs, and an open skate after the game for everyone in a costume. Call the Palace box office for ticket information, 810-377-0100. Too many men on the ice for the Orlando Solar Bears, and now they'll have 1 less. As a result, Detroit on the power play for the 4th time in the game, tied at 1. Brad Shaw moves it ahead on the near side. Pavanka hits the brakes and sends it on left wing. Wristed wide of the Orlando net and sent around by Krivahisha. Bondra gets it back to the line. Shaw takes a look, backs it, now moves it on the right wing half wall for Bondra. Peter Bondra again back for Shaw, and the pass eludes Brad as it bounces away into the Detroit zone.
Good job by Dave Barr forcing Bondra to lift that pass over his stick, and it didn't get back on the ice in time for Shaw to handle it.
Shaw being pestered as he comes back. Pavanka hit hard. Reed loses his helmet, but he moves it ahead for Bondra. 3-on-2 across the line. Drop pass to Krivahisha. Comes in with a shot. Save made by Bester. Rebound banked off the side of Bester and then off the side of the net as Junker came in. Krivahisha finds Pavanka to the near side. Pavanka looking for Bondra in front. Sends it low. Bondra rifled it in front. It bounced off of David Emma into the high slot where Mike Hartman gets to it and banks it the length of the ice.
Good job by Orlando, but Detroit's really forced them to play almost perfect penalty killing. They're patient with the puck, moving it around and waiting for quality chances.
Inside a minute to go on the Detroit man advantage. Shaw with a long pass for Joe Day in the neutral zone. Joe does all he can just to keep control of it and leaves it for Shaw. Now for Stewart, who will get it back from Savaglia. Having a little trouble just getting the handle on the puck right now. Stewart bumped it center ice, rolls it into the Orlando zone. Richards will collect it, find the opening, and slide it to the sheet. Stewart comes back to get it behind his own net for from Bertium, I should say. 20 seconds to go in the Detroit power play. Savaglia on right wing into the Orlando zone, pulls up. This is where he's dangerous. Moves towards the net, winds into one. That deflected, came in front, didn't get through, and then it's cleared.
Nice job by Savaglia just pulling up over the line, allowing Orlando to all back in towards the goal, then realizing he had his shot.
Bertium clears it ahead for Andrzak. Now to Savaglia, who carries in, beats his man, backhander saved by Bester and swept to the line. That was vintage Pete Savaglia there. The penalty is now over, and back comes Turcotte the other way. Tried to drop it from inside the blue line, ends up with it back on his stick. Got a shot away. That went just wide, and Bertium will smother as it comes back off the base of the dasher.
Great action at both ends of the ice.
Pete Savaglia had a nice shift out there. He just undressed an Orlando defenseman and came in on the power play. But again, it was Alan Bester.
Well, here's Pete coming in, and when you give him space like that, he's real shifty and beats a very good defenseman in Richards there. Richards waves at the puck as Savaglia goes by on his backhand. Bester has to make another great save. Everyone goes by the puck here. Turcotte stays with it, gets shoved from behind, and still manages to get it close to the net where it bounces off the boards, comes back for Bertium. Bertium has to tie it up with some solar bears on the doorstep.
That Savaglia break just moments ago reminded me so much of the goal he scored against the Gretzky All-Stars
exactly.
last year as he danced through some of the best defense in all of hockey.
Yeah, last year he danced through Al McGinnis and then went in and scored on Grant Fuhr. That was a beautiful move, tough to stop, especially when Richards was caught flat-footed inside his blue line.
Face off in the ring to the right of Bertium, just past the halfway mark of the hockey game. 9:50 to go in the second. We're tied at 1. Guy LaRose back out after taking 10 stitches and a skate to the head in the first period, wins the draw. And Krivahisha for Detroit moves it to the left side. Backhanded up the wall and out by David Emma. Sent right back into the Detroit zone. Krivahisha eludes a check and gets it for David Williams, who then has it taken away by Hartman. Hartman fires it in front, and Krivahisha covered the front of his net and deflected it out to center.
That's a play where I think obstruction should be allowed. It's real dangerous with Hartman coming right in on Williams, and Williams not having time to move away or get a pick set for him.
LaRose trying to move it through the middle, but Circa picked it off into the Detroit zone. Jeff Circa with a shot, and that went wide as he had his stick hooked away at the last minute, but still got the shot off. Craighead trying to push it ahead for LaRose, misses into the neutral zone. Vipers will get a change as Craighead goes in on the one-man forecheck. Hartman breaks out of his own zone with it and flips it into the Detroit end. Token changes for the Solar Bears. Buffet gets to it for the Bears, got it back to the line. Shot didn't get through from there. Fisher can't run down the carom, and Tiley has to go to center ice to get it as the Vipers clear. 1-1 tie, 8:40 to go in the second period. Michael Pavanka for Detroit. Motors out of his own zone. Gets the handle, moves it on the left side. Gets it back, and the pass went just through him as Junker tried to send it back to him. Now here's Fisher turning on the Jets through center ice into the Detroit zone. Drop pass, Frederick with a shot. Glove save, Bertium. The Bandit takes one away, and he'll hold on. Tied at 1 midway through the game on the Viper Hockey Network. It'll be Fuji Photo Night at the Palace Sunday, October 22nd. Bring your camera and you can get a photo with your favorite Viper player on the ice after the game against the Orlando Solar Bears.
Take a look at Craig Fisher there up on the screen. Made a beautiful drop pass there. And there was a good shot on that, forcing Berthiaume again to make a great glove save.
Face-off will be in the ring to the left of Daniel Berthiaume as a result. 8:25 to go in the second, tied at 1. Alfie Turcotte to take the draw for Orlando. Pavanka won it, though. And Detroit gets it up the wall and out. Junker knocks it down the neutral zone just with a touch pass for Pavanka, but he couldn't carry it in. Now it's center. Duncanson for Orlando rolls it into the Detroit zone. Stewart in front of his own net just gets it out of harm's way as he moves it to center. LeBlanc avoids a hip check from Stewart and does end up on the ice as he steers it back into the Detroit zone. Away it comes. Here's Bondra to center for Pavanka. Pavanka will have to pull up as he drew Junker offside and now skate it back in the neutral zone. Giveaway at center as Turcotte picked it off, but he has to wait for Duncanson to touch up, then carries it in and offside anyway, says Derek Martin.
Questionable call. It seemed like Orlando was outside the line, allowed Fisher to handle the puck and throw it far side. Martin blew it down as an offside.
Well, only one man has to think so, and if it's the right one and he's wearing stripes, it's the call.
That's right. So
I believe he ruled Turcotte dragged it back out of the zone when he stick handled inside. Definitely a borderline call, but Martin was right there. He was in good position.
yeah, those plays are so close to the line too. It's almost impossible to call from where we are. He's standing 2 feet from the play. And
oh, we can call it from here. It's probably not going to be right.
Yeah.
It's our job, too.
All right, we'll give him a break on that. We'll say it was offside.
Cherney moves into the Orlando zone, walks in and blasts it right on, and there's Bester again.
Well, Cherney's a little upset with himself. He felt he could have perhaps had a shot with a little better quality as far as direction. It went right into Bester's stomach, but Bester was right on the angle and didn't give Joe much to shoot at. Joe makes a strong move by Tyler that hangs onto the puck, and it's good wood on it, just puts it right in Bester's belly.
Right in the shades. Right in the shades of the Solar Bear. When it's going well, that's what happens, and it is going well tonight for Alan Bester. Detroit wins the draw. Chagorovsky loads one up that didn't get through. Emma, I think, got hit by that shot, and the puck cleared.
Detroit continues to dominate in the offensive zone on the faceoffs, winning a majority of them and getting quality chances.
An icing call on Orlando as they're just clearing it and getting it out of harm's way. The Vipers have weathered a power play storm from Orlando as the Solar Bears have had 5 chances with the extra man.
Well, we discussed in between periods that Orlando seemed to have took over the momentum. And Orlando, I'm sure, is happy with the play of this period, but Detroit really did a good job in stifling that emotion and seems to have slowly taken over the momentum again here in the second.
A 22-13 shot advantage for the Vipers as Emma gets set to take the draw on the circle to the right of Bester. He kicks it back to the line. Chagorovsky moves up the board, flipped it towards the net. That was blocked easily and cleared away by Brad Tyler. Back come the Bears to center. Beauvais had to roll off his stick to the line. Shaw tried to clear it, ends up across though for Chagorovsky. Ahead now for Day, who moves it for LaRose. Guy LaRose up the right wing side, hits the brakes, pulls up, tried to feed it back to the trailing defenseman. Problem is Chagorovsky wasn't in the zone yet, so the Vipers forced to touch up as Emma comes back and gets it from Oleg. LaRose just trying to tip it to the line. Couldn't find anybody. It's Beauvais at center who will send it back into the Detroit zone, and here we go. Chagorovsky has dropped the gloves. And I can't see who he's all tangled up with. It's Alan May, and I don't know if Oleg really realized until it was too late who he was fighting.
Well, Alan's a tough kid, been in the NHL for a while at Washington and Calgary.
He sheds Chagorovsky's helmet and throws the uppercut. Oleg, oh, he got tagged with a couple, and he got tagged with a couple more, and the linesman will intervene.
Well, Oleg's a big, strong kid, too, and although he took some punches there, it doesn't seem too bad, too much the worse for wear. Allen was only 34 games last year, but managed to accumulate 119 penalty minutes. Tough cookie who's been around a while in the National League. Going out there and playing a tough role every night, so he's a battler.
So the first tilt of the night at the 13-14 mark of the second period.
Chagorovsky comes in and stands up May, and May seems to drop his gloves first. And
That looked awful natural the way that glove just rolled off the end of his hand.
Yeah, it seemed pretty harmless, the play, so it appears May was looking to start something there and throw some pretty good punches.
Fans react as they show the replay on the big board here at the Orlando Arena. And a couple of fighting majors. And with 6:46 to go in the period, Chagorovsky and May will have nearly the remainder of the period off. Be interesting as John Craighead comes back out. I'm sure the Detroit bench saw that as a bit of a mismatch.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see what happens here. The play, although it's been physical, that was the first fight we've seen tonight. We'll see if it roughens up now with Hartman and Craighead out there, or if they continue to play end-to-end hockey with some good hitting.
Now apparently the scorer's bench blowing the horn to call referee Luke Galvin over. I wasn't sure what the delay was, but whatever it is no longer holding the game up. And Detroit wins the draw at center and rolls at the length of the ice. Craighead in on the forecheck, had it played away from him by Circa. Andrzak pinched up the boards, couldn't keep it in. It's cleared to center, 1-on-1, now 2-on-1. Hartman across the line with Reed, moves it across. Hartman got a stick on it. Andrzak came back and picked him up. He steered it wide. Behind the net it goes. Andrzak picks up Reed, loose puck dug out. And controlled up the boards by Dave Barr. Sent it to the corner. Reed pinned there, moves it around. Barr double teamed, loses the puck in the far corner, and now Lonnie Loach tries to pirouette away from him. Lonnie just lifts it high in the air. This one will bounce all the way back into the Orlando zone. Not far enough for icing. Detroit will get a change out of it as Circa tries to move it quickly to Richards. He gets the red line and steers it deep into the Detroit zone. Orlando will get changes. Frederick got to it first, but sent it back up the wall right on the stick of Peter Bondra. Bondra to center, gets the red line and sends it into the Orlando zone. Careful is Bester to play it away. Circa spins it up the wall, held in. Williams' shot didn't get through, bounced to the high slot. And unable to keep control of it there was Junker, who got his stick on it. And now cleared away to center. Frederick rolls it into the Detroit zone, and Williams comes back to get it. David Williams up the glass and out to center. Bondra behind the defense, gets the pass from Pavanka, then gets hooked out of the play by Patrick Neaton. Craig Fisher, who had a pair of goals in the game Friday at the Palace, moves it through center ice, then loses it. Junker puts it right on the tape for Bondra. Comes in and had his shot deflected over top of the net. Frederick again without his helmet out there as Detroit gets changes, sends it rink wide for Fisher. Fisher will steer it into the Detroit zone. Bertillon waits behind the net, gets a piece of it for Brad Shaw. Shaw got run into by Frederick, who kicks it to the corner. Coming off the wall, Fisher dangles in front to the forehand, shot saved. Swinging at it in midair and not getting anything on it was Frederick, but now he's got it behind the net. Comes out in front, moves it across the slot. Tied up is Buffet, still loose side of the net, and Bondra will just throw it around the boards to center ice. Good play by Peter Bondra.
A lot of traffic in front. Good job by Detroit. Everyone held their check and didn't allow a second opportunity.
Tiley moves it ahead for Drager. Pokes it to the Detroit line, picked off by David Emma, who turns the corner and comes the other way. Emma hits the brakes, flips it to the open left wing. There's Joe Day. Bouncing puck, Joe trying to get the handle on it. He's pinned to the wall as he keeps it alive on the far side. Buffet and Turcotte went down. It ends up right in front of the Orlando net, and Bester will smother it. And we'll take a timeout. 4:21 to go in the second. Still tied at 1 on the Viper Hockey Network. Big preseason game as the Pistons will host Chris Webber, Juwan Howard, and the Washington Bullets at Chrysler Arena October 25th. Call the Palace box office or stop by any Ticketmaster location as well as the U of M Student Union for tickets. And don't forget, you can still get in on season tickets for the Pistons season to come. Ticket packages begin as low as $149. Call the Palace box office. Well, they're coming out of the woodwork, so to speak.
Good-looking guy there.
Orlando. Well, he got dressed up anyway. Tied at 1. Orlando brings it through center ice and flips it into the Detroit zone. Bouncing puck. Duncanson got his stick on it, but couldn't control it. Now LeBlanc in the corner feeds it in front. It bounces off of an Orlando player and somehow kept out of the net as Bertillon and everyone else ends up in the net. Alfie Turcotte taking a little bit of exception to the way he was brought into the Detroit crease.
That was a tough play for Bertillon. I'm not sure if it would have been allowed if it had gone in the net, but puck gets thrown out from the corner as Turcotte goes to the net. He's being totally held there, which could have been a penalty by Greville Hija. He shoves Krivohizia back, and Berthiaume's sitting in the net with the puck in his lap. Another look at it there as you see Krivohizia just hold on to Turcotte as he goes into the net.
Alfie Turcotte, of all places, from Gary, Indiana.
Yeah, I remember playing youth hockey against Alfie in the Nationals. He played in the Detroit area for some minor league teams, and I guess he was born in Gary. I'm not quite sure where he grew up, but I know he did play his youth hockey in the Detroit metropolitan area, and then went and played junior in Canada and was a #1 pick, I believe, of Montreal Canadiens.
Very gifted offensive player, Alfie Turcotte. Detroit wins the draw. Just 4 minutes to go in what has been thus far a scoreless second period. Cleared to center. Pavanka gets it off the skate, leaves it for Vondra. Into the zone he comes. Drop pass for Pavanka. Winds into one. Blocker save. Fester. A rebound to the far side, and Richards will skate it out of his zone. Flips it back into the Detroit end. A collision at center ice. Play allowed to continue. The fans wanted a call. Reed cutting to the slot. Had it poked away by Pavanka. In behind the net, all alone in front was Neaton, but unable to get it to him was Dave Barr as Williams had him all tied up. Now Barr comes back to the boards again, trying to get it back up the wall to Reed, who is without a bucket, and the Vipers able to clear. They'll waive the icing as Richards comes back to get it in Detroit again. We'll get a change.
Well, the play's been fast and furious, but they're also making good decisions, both teams in their own ends, just getting it out when that's all they have.
Turcotte trying to bring it in, trailing the play. Neaton got hip checked off the puck, and here comes Savaglia. Dragged down. You can see his jersey being pulled down behind him, and we're going to have a penalty. That's a pretty easy one to call, especially when it's right in front of you. Galvin was about 2 feet away from it, and Savaglia's 12 got longer as he skated up ice.
Well, Savaglia's first step is really quick, and he turns around here in a transition, and Hartman realizes that Savaglia has a step on him. Although it's in the neutral zone and quite far away from the Orlando net.
But Galvin was about 1.5 feet away from it.
Yeah, Hartman realized that perhaps this was a 2-on-1 if he didn't hold up Savaglia. Just grabbed the back of his sweater and made a big slash, but it was right on Savaglia's stick. And Hartman knows he couldn't get away with that one as he grabbed him. As soon as he touched him, he went down, grabbing the back of his sweater.
So Detroit with a chance to take the lead again as they'll go on the power play despite all the extra man situations in the game. We have yet to have a power play goal. And Kirk Frazier a little less than pleased as he sends his penalty killing unit out. 3:07 to go in the second.
Always, obviously, power plays and special teams are important, but with 3 minutes left in the tie game, this is a real big power play for both teams. Detroit desperately wants to score here and try and hold on to a lead going into the third, where Orlando would really want to kill this and keep it even.
Savaglia, Loach, and Day up front. Krivohizia and Andrzak at the points for the Detroit power play as Frederick rumbles out of his own zone with it. Vipers cough it up at center, and Frederick is right there to get it again. Pass was just a hair behind Loach. I don't think he was expecting it. Berthiaume goes behind his net to play it as it was dumped in. Loach rink wide for Joe Day, who does a nice job to turn around and control it. Day into the Orlando zone on right wing, pulls up in the corner, then backs it to the point. Unable to hold it in was Krivohizia. A little bit of miscommunication there.
Yeah, Krivohizia really probably wishes he was over on the boards more there. It didn't come out too hard, so he had a good chance to keep that in.
Andrzak carries back into the Orlando zone, drops it on the wall, and again, nobody there but Savaglia able to run it down, keeps it in. Comes back up the boards, gets cross-checked from behind, kept the puck alive somehow. Now Loach trying to get it to Krivohizia at the point, but Duncanson picks it off and rifles at the length of the ice. Good
battles along the boards. If you're Detroit, you want Savaglia, Loach handling the puck, and Orlando put good pressure on him, forced him to cough it up.
Inside a minute to go on the Detroit power play as LaRose just touches it back into the Orlando zone, and as Drager gets to it, that's an icing call because Guy was to the wrong side of the red line when he did it.
Well, that's what all teams do now at this level. They force the offensive team or the team with the man advantage to make a good play. If they back off, most players at this level can really find the open guys. So they're playing real aggressive, especially along the boards and also in the neutral zone there, and force Detroit to shoot it down the length of the ice because they were hurried.
51 ticks remaining in the Orlando penalty. Rick Dudley sends Pavanka over the boards, and he will center Vondra and LaRose, while it's now Shaw and Stewart defensively for the Detroit power play. Inside 2 minutes to go in the second period.
That puck hit Berthiaume's glove and went over the net.
Just barely over the net. right off the face-off. Vipers dump it in as they bring it back. Pavanka got just rocked in the corner, up to the line. Stewart holds it in, winds into one, hit a leg, came right to Bondra on the near side. Bondra will send it out to the line. Shaw holds it in at the left point, gives it back to Peter. Bondra moves it side of the net, went right through LaRose. He goes behind the net, pulls away from Frederick, tried to center. Bondra goes after it as it deflects to the corner. Back to the left point, and again it's Shaw who will give it up the wall now for Bondra. Bondra back out high. Shaw fakes the shot over to Stewart. One times it wide on the short side. Rebound to the far boards. Pavanka after it to the point for Shaw, who just sweeps it up the dasher. LaRose went after it to the corner, and he was tripped hard, and he's still down. Was it Drager or was it Bester that tripped him up? And LaRose has not moved, now rolls over, and it has been a tough night for Guy LaRose.
The puck sat loose in the corner. LaRose was in front of the net with possibly Richards. Richards tripped him up, didn't allow him to get to the puck. Or perhaps it is Drager. Drager's in front here with LaRose. Oh, he slashed him.
Oh, on the back of the leg, too. That's where the shin guard is not. And that was a big-time slash from Barry Drager.
Well, it's right in the back of the knee, and that's a painful area. At first, I thought it was a trip. It didn't appear to be anything big, so I thought maybe LaRose knew he wasn't going to get to the puck. He took a dive, but that was a pretty hard slash in the back of the leg. Puck's dumped in softly here. LaRose obviously is going to be the first one to get it. Gets slashed right in the back of the leg. And went down pretty hard. That one stung. He's still down.
You could see Bill Murray unsure of maybe a stitch had ruptured, because from his vantage point it looked like LaRose fell face down, because he did. And he wasn't sure if maybe he wouldn't be bleeding again, but I think he's bruising right now.
Wow, he looks like he's hurting pretty good. He's getting helped up.
A tough night it has been for the Viper alternate captain. Well, the Pistons will be at the Palace for some preseason action beginning next Friday against the 76ers. Tuesday the 17th, they host Cleveland. Sacramento will be in on the 19th. And on October 23rd, the Milwaukee Bucks. Reserve your seats by calling the Palace box office, the number 810-377-0100. And don't forget to tune into Detroit's Fan, WDFN, 11:30 a.m., the All Talk Sports Station, where all Viper games are brought to you live.
LaRose is really having a tough night on the first game of a 3-day trip. I mean, he's a battler, and he's always in this, stirring it up and in all the mix-ups. But tonight he's taking a skate to the face and now a slash to the back of the knee.
And there is 1 second remaining in the holding penalty to Mike Hartman. As soon as they drop the puck, he'll come out of the box, and both teams will remain an 0 on the power play. Orlando fortunate that they are not about to remain short-handed. After Drager's two-hander, out of the box comes Hartman as the puck is dropped. Andrzejczak will flip it back into the Orlando zone. Bester lets it go behind the net. Tiley got hit, but he got it around the wall and out, and now less than a minute to go in the period as Andrzejczak runs it down at his own line. Greg flips it high in the air, and look out, that one went right off the top of somebody's melon in about the third or fourth row. And that's why they make the announcement before the game, to keep your eye on the puck. That one looked harmless enough.
Oh, he's cut too.
But it just fluttered in. A near-capacity crowd in Orlando may be learning a lesson the hard way on that one.
Yeah, we saw the fans getting some napkins out, so there might be a little cut, but it was a floater. Landing on top of the head probably doesn't tickle, but it seemed to be a soft shot, so hopefully whoever got hit is not hurt too bad.
52.4 seconds remain in the second period. Still tied at 1. No scoring in the middle stanza. Off the draw, Reed is tripped up in front, and a penalty coming up to Detroit.
Another penalty on Andrzejczak, I believe, John. Reed gets it back to the point, just goes to the net. Andrzejczak sees the shot coming and gets a stick in Reed's legs and trips him down.
Last season, Greg Andrzejczak had 70 penalty minutes on the year. In 52 games, he has 6 penalty minutes tonight.
Well, Andy sat out the second game the other night. He has a hip pointer problem where he's a little sore, and Andy's a beautiful skater, so perhaps he maybe feels he's a step behind with the sore leg. And Reed got it back to the point and went to the net, which is exactly what the coaches want him to do. And as a defenseman back to the point, what you want your forwards to do, get right to the net. So they threw it on net. Andrzejczak saw him coming and tripped him up.
Face off in the circle to the right of Bertillon. And perhaps the Vipers will end the second period the same way they ended the first, and that's shorthanded. Williams able to move it out of the zone. Loach takes a hack at it and got it right into the glove of Savaglia, who drops it back to him. Lonnie almost pirouettes away. But Dave Barr moves it ahead for Buffet. Mark Buffet across the line with a drop pass. LeBlanc finds Barr on the left wing. Barr takes a look, sends it out high. A bouncing puck Patrick Neaton having problems with. He sends it to the corner, bounces out to Duncanson. 10 seconds now to go in the period. Top of the circle, Savaglia will just pitch it the length of the sheet. And that should do it for the period. Dave Barr comes back to get it. Just 3 seconds left as he slides it ahead. The pass to LeBlanc is offside with 1.2 seconds remaining in the second period.
Good try by Orlando. Tried to sneak one in with 1 second left, but LeBlanc was clearly offside.
LeBlanc a scratch in the opener. One of the big free agent off-season signings for Kurt Frazier and Don Waddell and the rest of the Solar Bears is expected to provide some offense for this hockey club.
He definitely can do it. He's been in the American League as well as the NHL for quite a few years after coming out of Canadian University, where he was a Player of the Year in 1986.
The puck is dropped, the horn sounds, and the second period ends exactly as it began, all even at 1. It has been a good hockey game through 40 minutes at the Orlando Arena. Kurt Frazier Solar Bears in their home opener, tied with the Detroit Vipers at 1 on the Viper Hockey Network. Alongside Bobby J as we return. And we're going to try something new here in the second period. They play the music pretty loud in here, so if we're going to go downstairs and visit with Pete Savaglia of the Detroit Vipers, we're going to try to keep the headsets on and hope that Pete can hear us. Good second period, no scoring, but we've seen an excellent hockey game, pretty tight despite a shot advantage for Detroit.
Yeah, we commented on the emotion of both teams. We can feel the electricity in the air here, and from our point of view, the level of play looks fantastic for the second game of the season for Orlando and the third game for the Vipers.
And let's go downstairs to join Pete Savaglia, standing by, the Viper centerman, and let's ask him about just that. Pete, this game looks like a game that you would normally see in about January. Both teams look pretty sharp. Does it feel like that kind of a game down there?
I don't know, Johnny. It seems like playoffs are right around the corner. It's a little bit different from the first game we played. I think there was 11 goals between the two teams, and, you know, we have 2 right now. The ice is a little bit slow out there. I don't know if you guys can tell upstairs, but I think the premium's on checking tonight.
Pete, this is Bobby. It seems like both teams are making good decisions defensively, like you mentioned, saying playoff hockey. Also on your power play, you guys have had great opportunities but haven't had a chance to score a goal. Do you still feel confident in the locker room? Are you saying don't change a thing? Or how do you guys feel about the power play right now? It seems to be working well with the exception of not scoring.
Sometimes it works well and sometimes it doesn't. I think we're getting a little bit inconsistent. And in the first couple games, we were batting 50% on the power play. We haven't had a goal here, and we've had a few chances, but I think we expect a little bit more out of ourselves. And it's frustrating when you kind of rush things. And when things don't go well, you tend to panic. And we've hit the panic button a couple times. And I don't know if you guys can hear me. It's quite loud, but we're going to try and get a little bit better job getting the pucks on the net and going for rebounds.
Okay, well, we can hear you well up here, and we'll get on a lighter subject. This summer, I understand you spent a lot of time up at Saratoga watching the ponies, and you had a little time off last night in Orlando, and I was wondering what you did, and rumor has it you made it out to the track again.
Well, you'd know better than anyone, Bobby. Since I had a few more winners than you did. It's fun. I like the dogs, and I like the horses, especially in the summertime. It's just a passion of mine, and I'm still waiting for those dogs, all those dogs, to see if they can catch that metal rabbit. And I want to see when they can do that. But it's fun. It's nice to be able to relax. We got in early last night, and instead of sitting in the hotel room for 4 or 5 hours, drive down to the dog track, watch them run, and it was a fun evening.
That's great.
I think some of mine are still running, Pete, but, you know, we talk hockey, we talk systems so much, and I know you've got a system. Do you care to share? It's been known to work for you.
In hockey?
No, at that track.
Well, Johnny, if I told that system, then everyone else would be using it. We wouldn't be able to make any money. My system is to go and have fun. You can't win money at those things, Johnny. You knew that last night. I like to have fun. It was good to be out with you guys.
Pete, talk about Guy LaRose a little bit. He's had a tough night, but one of the reasons he wears that A is because he takes the stitches, gets the bad cut, and comes back out and then takes the slash later in the game. He's a real leader, isn't he?
Well, I know one thing for sure about Guy. He's going to be out there for the third period, and that cut's pretty nasty. I don't know if you guys saw that,
yeah.
And I didn't think he'd be back. He's a little lightheaded. He put the helmet on. He's still not wearing a visor, which is beyond me. He's a tough guy, but he was out there fighting, got a slash. Give him a few minutes to rest. He'll be right back out there.
Well, Pete, we appreciate you taking the time. We'll let you get back to the room. I know it's a little hot in this building. You probably could use to get some liquids in you. Best of luck in the third period.
Thanks a lot, Johnny and Bobby. Take care.
Good luck, Pete.
Pete Savaglia of the Detroit Vipers has been our guest here in the second intermission, where the Detroit Vipers and Orlando Solar Bears are tied at 1 from the Orlando Arena. Back with more after this on the Viper Hockey Network. Bobby J, is we back with you. All kinds of activities going on the ice here in Orlando. It's been a bit of a long night. We know the game is already moving on 2 hours, at least since they started. Bobby, what's that do to you as a player? It's been a long night, yet it's a hard-fought game. You can't lose your focus in a game like this.
Well, Pete said, too, he feels like it's getting ready for the playoffs. I mean, I'm exhausted up here. It's hot in here, a lot of emotion we discussed, and the play has been fantastic. So the longer the game goes, the tighter you get, obviously. And with the pace that's been played, these guys are pretty tired, I'm sure, going into the third.
At the outset of our broadcast, we went over tonight's keys to the game. Let's take an opportunity with our time now to look back and see if any of those keys have been met for Detroit. We talked they needed to get out of the gate. They finally, for the first time this season, were scored upon in the first period.
Yeah, I thought they did get out of the gate quite well, though, but Orlando weathered the storm and came back. So Detroit was probably happy with the way they came out, playing well, moving the puck, but Orlando weathered the storm, like I said, and hung right in there for the first period.
And I think we talked about fighting fire with fire, and Pete made a good point when we talked to Pete Savaglia here between periods. He said he thought the emphasis tonight was on finishing checks, and I think both teams have done a good job at that.
Yeah, it is. Both teams have recognized that there's a lot of good scorers out here on both sides of the ice, and the way to combat that is finish your checks. Don't allow these players to make a pass and then get back into the play. So Detroit and Orlando, with experienced players, know what they have to do, and both teams have finished their checks well, although it hasn't been real killer hitting, but it's just been finishing your check, hold the guy, don't allow him to jump back into the play.
For the Orlando Solar Bears, it was a club coming into tonight's game that had played only one game all year, and they hadn't done it in a week. We felt they had an opportunity to maybe be a rusty hockey club. I think the first period showed us that that was not really the case.
Yeah, it was crisp playing by both teams. Detroit came out just where they left off last week as far as opening first period playing well, and Orlando was equal to the task. It was evenly played. Orlando had good tempo after only playing one game last week, and they thought they looked really well and really quick in the first period.
As to the emotion factor, it had to play a role. It didn't really rear its head until late in the first period. It's been a little bit of a give and take, though. It's come and go. Detroit has been able to take it back away from Orlando and keep the Solar Bears from grabbing the momentum overall.
Yeah, and the way to do that is play with poise. You know, Pete discussed just getting the puck in, getting it out, no big home run plays where you can cost your team a quick goal. So both teams have been patient. They're making smart decisions. They have a lot of veterans, especially the defensemen. They don't get themselves in troubles. They wait for good opportunities, and then they make nice passes. If it's not there, they just shoot it out and regroup.
Let's take a look around the rest of the International Hockey League as we look at tonight's schedule of games in the eye. Unfortunately, we have no scores to report. An old-time International Hockey League battle between the Michigan K-Wings and the Fort Wayne Comets taking place down in Fort Wayne. Kansas City is going on the road as they will take on the Milwaukee Admirals. That game at the Bradley Center in Milwaukee. Minnesota at home for the first time this year. Still a lot of home openers out there. They are hosting the Chicago Wolves, and the defending Cup champion Utah Grizzlies, formerly the Denver Grizzlies, at home as well for the first time, playing host to Peoria. Los Angeles is at Las Vegas, and Phoenix is at San Francisco. As we go a little farther west, we'll try to get you updated on any scores that we get as we go along. The score we do have for you after 2 periods of play from Orlando, the Solar Bears won and the Detroit Vipers won. Back with more after this on the Viper Hockey Network. Back in Orlando at the Orlando Arena, where it is a 1-1 tie between the Detroit Vipers and the Orlando Solar Bears. There was no scoring in that second period of play, but certainly not a period that was without opportunities. Detroit has outshot Orlando throughout the majority of this game. And we've talked a lot about Alan Bester, Bobby, but I think just the fact that he hasn't seen as much work makes us maybe neglect the performance we've seen from Daniel Bertillon so far. He's done an outstanding job again.
Both goalies have played great tonight, obviously, with a 1-1 game and all the quality shots we've seen at both ends. I mean, we thought both teams were playing good defense, but the offense has been so good that there have been plenty of quality shots, and both goalies have made huge saves.
Take a look at the stat rundown through 40 minutes of play. Detroit again out shooting Orlando in the middle period. 10-7, and they have a 23-16 shot advantage. We've seen plenty of power plays, but they have not been a factor. But again, as you and I have expounded upon, not because these power plays haven't looked good. The goaltending and the penalty kill to some extent has been good on both sides. But the power plays, for being a combined 0 for 10, I think this is some of the best power play I've ever seen in a game where they're a combined 0 for 10.
Yeah, and talking to Pete Zavaglia, you know, he said they were a little disappointed that they hadn't scored a goal. I felt they were playing pretty well in the power play, but the bottom line is the bottom line, and they haven't had a chance to score yet. So, you know, there's no, hey, we didn't score, but we played great. They're disappointed they haven't put one in yet, and obviously a power play goal would be the difference in the game right now.
As we watch some of the on-ice entertainment here in Orlando, and the Zamboni with shades on a Harley.
Look at that. Coolest guy in the league, I'd say. Throws a hockey stick and equipment over his shoulder and buzzes down the street on a Harley.
And shades with quite the entrance this evening. In case you missed it, they had him break through the ceiling, if you will, here at the Orlando Arena and rappel down from there. Don't miss your chance to get in on Viper season tickets. The season is underway, but it is still very early in the year, and still an opportunity to get in on mini season ticket packages as well. Get in on all the affordable action-packed hockey at the Palace this winter. The number to call, 810-377-0100. And if it is hockey season at the Palace, that means basketball season at the Palace is not far away either. The Detroit Pistons begin a new era under head coach Doug Collins. Officially, the regular season begins in November, but we got some preseason games coming up here very shortly. You can get a jump start right now on great seats to see all that action and all the great players in the National Basketball Association. Ticket packages start at a very reasonable $149, and for more ticket information, you can call the Palace box office. That number is 810-377-0100. And Rick Dudley, much in the same boat as we are, just waiting for the third period to get underway. He and assistant coach Steve Ludzick pacing in the hallway. Last thing in the world you want to do is go in and talk to the boys, get them revved up, go over everything, and then come back out, and there's 5 minutes on the clock, and that may very well have been what happened.
Exactly. Timing's the key for those guys. You know, he's got it all planned out. He wants to go in with just a couple minutes before they step out, so he gets the engines revved up. Doesn't want to rev them up, walk out, and then have them sit there for 5 minutes. So does his stomach's turn a little bit, and he's just trying to wait it out and get Detroit to come out and really put a big push here in the start of the third.
Of course, Rick has a fine relationship with Orlando general manager Don Waddell. They work together in San Diego, and as we mentioned at the outset, certainly, you know, the idea is the same. They're trying to generate fan excitement, entertain these fans, and also get them interested. And certainly he understands what's going on here in Orlando, although I think things have not come off quite as smooth as they would have liked, but it's been a great opening night for them. Let's go back to the out-of-town scoreboard now, where we do have some scores in, and let's take a look. Bobby J's former club, the Fort Wayne Comets, down to the Michigan K-Wings, 3-1. I don't think Michigan has their roster set yet. They're still waiting on a few more players to be sent down from Dallas. That K-Wings team could be a very good hockey club this year.
Yeah, I read in the paper the other day that Corey Millen was recently sent down, and he is an exciting player. If people haven't had a chance to see him play yet, he's been in the NHL ever since he played on the Olympic team, and he's really a little guy that can fly, and he's going to help them a lot.
Kansas City has the same lead over Milwaukee. I think Kansas City surprised a lot of people with their playoff run, but I think they're going to have a team very similar to their postseason team of a year ago, and a lot of people expecting big things from the Blades. Chicago on the road leads 2-1 in the second over Minnesota. Peoria has a 1-0 lead over Utah. That's the first game back at the Delta Center in over a year after the old Golden Eagles left town and became the Detroit Vipers.
I love that place. That's a great city, Salt Lake.
Yeah, and I know the league, people around the IHL, especially players and staff alike, are happy to be returning to Salt Lake City. And the good fans of Salt Lake City waited it out after having hockey for 25 years. They went a year without. And the intermission clock, which I think was set at about 45 minutes, is just about to expire, and they're still not done Zamboning the ice here. They did not use the 2 Zambonis in the second intermission that they did in the first, and the clock will expire before the Zamboni leaves. You can see the Vipers are just chomping at the bit, standing in the aisle, and you know it's a two-way street as well. We hear the horn in the background. The Solar Bears got to be feeling the same thing.
Yeah, that's lousy as a player. You obviously enjoy the rest, but you don't feel like sitting there for a half hour.
Well, at what point does it go from being a rest to getting cold?
Exactly, and mentally you just start to get a little sour about what's going on. You're like, all right, enough's enough, let's get going, you know. But it's something that's being, you know, first night, a lot of kinks being worked out, and other than the off-ice stuff, the hockey's been great. So.
It's been an outstanding game. You and I talked about this a little bit off camera before tonight's broadcast. You know, opening night always has some jitters, always maybe puts a few butterflies in players' stomachs, but you went through it a year ago. Not only is it opening night, but you're opening a franchise. And does it add any more pressure, or is it just another opening night?
Well, it definitely does, especially when it's such a big production. Like, obviously, with Detroit, the way the owners treat us and the way they publicized it, I felt there was a lot of pressure on us because the Detroit owners spent a lot of money in advertising, paid a lot of money for good players, had a beautiful building, sold the place out. So we really wanted to do well and show the fans that we appreciate their support. And obviously, the same thing happened here in Orlando. It's a big building. They got a lot of fans in here. So you want to return the favor early and get these fans to come back for more, especially the people that are seeing IHL hockey for the first time. So I think there is a lot of pressure to do well because you want to impress people who are coming out to see the product.
I look at Peter Bondra, who has the only goal of the game for Detroit tonight. Both goals in this hockey game, ironically, come 10 seconds apart, and they're both unassisted. Bondra, his third of the year, and Dave Barr has the only Orlando goal, was his first of the year.
Dave Barr's
a couple of long-time NHL veterans scoring the goals in this one against a couple of long-time NHL veteran goaltenders.
Yeah, there's a lot of, you know what, there's a lot of NHL veterans in this league, not just out here tonight, but look at another one right there in Brad Shaw.
On assignment from the Ottawa Senators, currently filling the void as player assistant coach for the Detroit Vipers. That void created when Mark Hardy went to Los Angeles in the waiver draft. He was left unprotected, not necessarily left unprotected, he was just unsigned at the time of the draft back in June, and that meant if you weren't signed, you were available to be taken in the draft, and the Ice Dogs nabbed up Hardy, who calls Los Angeles home, and Brad Shaw becomes the player assistant coach for Detroit. As a result, Dave Barr, his counterpart, the player assistant for Orlando. Tune in to Pass on Sunday, October the 22nd. That's our next game right here. It's a 6 o'clock face-off, and again, it's the Orlando Solar Bears taking on the Vipers from the Palace of Auburn Hills. That's live on Sunday, October the 22nd, right here on Pass.
Well, most people might not want to see the same team 3 times in a row, but obviously with this play, it doesn't matter who you're playing. If you get this kind of hockey, it's enjoyable to watch. It's well worth it.
Pete Savaglia telling us between periods, excuse me, Bobby, that the ice was getting a little rough out there as well, and we're watching linesman Derek Martin pick up some debris and try to take care of some holes next to the Detroit net, being manned by Daniel Bertiom, and that just adds a little insult to injury.
Well, you can see the reflection of the lights down on the ice, which usually means that there's a lot of water accumulating. So it's so warm in here, the ice is definitely getting soft and slushy.
I noticed the ice was still wet about 8 minutes into that second period, and by then it really shouldn't be the case, and we'll see if it affects the puck handling ability. Vipers begin the period shorthanded and dump it into the Orlando zone. Big penalty kill to start the period for Detroit, just over a minute in the Orlando power play as they move it into the Detroit zone. Stewart comes back to get it, turns and rifles it through his crease. Got it on Loach's stick, and he finds Savaglia. Here comes Pete up the right side, working on Tiley. Couldn't drag it around him. Brad just swept it away behind the net. Half a minute into the third period, and back come the Bears to center. Dumped in by Dave Barr to the corner. After it goes Fisher and Frederick. They muck forward in the near corner. Stewart tried to dig it out. Fisher got a shot on net. Pad save Bertiom. Tiley steers it on net, and again getting the pad on it is Bertiom. Long rebound to Richards, who flips it towards the net, and Bertiom through traffic somehow saw that.
Well, Richards threw that in with a good quick snapshot with at least 3 players in front. I was waiting for a rebound to kick out. Bertiom had his eye on it, though, and bluffed it.
The Bandit still wearing the bandana underneath the now new Viper helmet. He came to town last year for the playoffs and was still sporting the colors of his East Coast Hockey League club that he had spent the year with.
Well, Danny's fun to play in front of as a defenseman. He's real energetic. He's always confident out there, and he's boosting your ego up. It's nice to play in front of him. Nice save there with a bunch of traffic in front.
Faced off in the ring to the left of Bertiom, still on the power play for another 30 seconds. The Solar Bears. Fisher fights in the corner to dig it out. Chagorovsky takes a sweep at it as he walks in front. The puck still loose, just lays right in the crease. Frederick couldn't get his stick on it and finally poked to the corner. Turcotte steps up, keeps it alive in the right wing corner. Alfie Turcotte takes a look, wants to get it to somebody, now sends it down low side of the net. Fisher walks in front, rolls it again right into the crease, and this one's backhanded out of harm's way by Shaw.
What a backhand by Shaw, standing in front of his net. Ripped a backhand that looked like a wrist shot off the glass and down the lane to the ice.
And it effectively kills the remainder of the penalty. Out of the box, Anderzak, the teams are even strength, and now 0 for 6 on the power play. Orlando, long shot, batted away by Bertiom as Reed let it go from just inside the blue line. Up the wall, Joe Day clears to center. Did find Bondra. Bondra has Pavanka with him. They come across the line. Bondra turns the corner on right wing, then had it slashed away from him. And to center, LeBlanc has it roll off his stick as the Bears try to bring it back. David Williams gets on his horse, goes and gets it, and he'll backhand it out of harm's way to center ice.
Another good, strong backhand.
This is going to be an icing call. It was such a strong backhand. Now they wave it off. Circa went back to get it. I think he thought he was going to get the icing call. Got lucky. He didn't sweep it right onto a Detroit stick. At center, Patrick Neaton rifles it around the dasher into the Detroit zone. Duncanson kicks it ahead and keeps it alive. Sent it behind the net. Reed backhands it right in front, sticked away. LeBlanc was being hooked as he got a backhander away, and that's sticked away again by Bertiom.
Detroit got away with a hook there, John.
In the corner, Williams bumped by LeBlanc. Puck to the far corner. LaRose goes after it. Guy is back, just like Savaglia told us he would be. Ahead for Emma on right wing. They crisscross as they come across the line. Loose puck in the slot. Day had a swipe at it, but couldn't get it on his stick and pulled the trigger. Cleared to center. The Vipers want to bring it back in as they touch up. A delayed offside will be called now, as LaRose didn't realize that Day had not yet escaped the zone. And just over 2.5 into the third period, David Emma in his Viper debut.
Well, he hasn't had many shifts tonight, John, but he seems to have made the most of them. Every time he's out there, he has a decent opportunity or sets up a decent opportunity to score.
Well, as Bobby mentioned, the Vipers got away with one just a moment ago. LeBlanc had a chance on a rebound.
Backhand pass thrown out front. Bertiom wasn't sure who was behind him, so had to deflect it out into the slot where Joe Day hooked his man down, obviously, but Galvin
got away with it. Must be all that
luckily
clean living for Joe.
Decided to let it go.
The gods were on his side on that particular occasion. Brad Shaw loses an edge in the corner as he comes back into his own zone, but he did get it ahead on the wall. Not out, though. Hartman with a long wrist shot on that. Deflected on the way, went wide on the short side. Chagorovsky puts the shoulder to his man in the corner. Trying to dig it out is Bob Joyce. Back up the wall, and it comes to Joyce in the corner. And then sent to the far point, but all the way out to center ice. The race is on. Cherney and Richards after it. Richards backhands it away, and then Drager sent it to the Detroit line. Chagorovsky moving it through center ice. Couldn't get it ahead for Loach, and now Richards retreats to the backside of his net. Just over 3 minutes into the third period, tied at 1. Here's Alan May in center for Orlando, and overcame Stewart to calmly just knock it away. Pavanka steers it into the Orlando zone. Neaton lost the handle as he skated out of the zone, but did clear and get it into the Detroit end. Williams comes back, trying to bank it up the boards, not out of his zone. Alan May rolled it right to the side of the net. Buffet got there. Moves it to Duncanson. Duncanson's shot was blocked. Good defensive play as Pavanka stayed home. Pavanka's played very well defensively, and then a long shot from Neaton deflected over top of the net. Tiley just misses the feed as he was cutting off the left point. And here goes Bondra. Turns on the Jets and is taken out of the play by Patrick Neaton. Cleared to the line. Junker couldn't hold it in. Just flips it back in as Bondra touches up. Boy, Neaton did what he had to do on Bondra. If he doesn't get him there, he is in.
Well, he's learning a little about Bondra. Bondra just skated. Neaton put his head down full speed, tried to cut him off the end because he knew Bondra was going to the net.
Turcotte dumps it into the Detroit zone, and Joe Day with a good job to tie his man up and finish the check to the corner. Stewart muscles Turcotte as he tries to pull out of the check, and ahead to center. Emma gets it for Anderzak. Andy turns it on, comes into the zone, wanted to drop the backhand pass, but it didn't get through, and back comes Frederick. Ahead for Fisher. Greg Fisher tied up by Anderzak, and a good play by Greg as he came back to finish his check.
Excellent play, excellent.
Krivahisha behind the net, knocks it away from Fisher once, then twice. Up the boards, Turcotte keeps it in on the right side. Rolls it to the slot, but Anderzak stayed with Frederick. A good job there by Greg Anderzak, so nobody home in front. Joe Day golfs it back into the Orlando zone. Emma comes in on the left side, gets it in behind the net for Craighead. John Craighead reverses it behind the net for Lonnie Loach. Loach feeds it to the slot. Couldn't find anybody there, and back to center, John LeBlanc. Big John LeBlanc across the line on left wing. tried to feed it towards the net. He had Circa cutting, but his pass didn't get through. And we're seeing a lot of both teams just getting it out of the zone when that's all they have, and that's good to do in a 1-1 tie.
Certainly is. That's make the coaches happy and take a lot of pressure off the goaltenders.
Brad Shaw for Detroit out of his own zone, moves it ahead. A fancy pass at the line gets through to Loach as Savaglia dangled it to him. Shaw tries to hit Tierney across the line. Pass deflects behind the net. Bester had to come out and play it away from him around the board. Shaw holds it in at the right point, fired it in front. That was intercepted. Jeff Reed through center for Orlando, across the line, winds into one, and that went just wide. Offside as well, says Derek Martin. We'll take a break. 14-16 to go in regulation, tied at 1 on the Viper Hockey Network. Back at the Orlando Arena, 14-16 to go in the third, tied at 1. John Alers along with Bobby J. And it's our pleasure to be joined in the booth now by Dave Smith, Viper centerman, who twisted an ankle back in Saturday's game against Chicago, scratched from the lineup. Dave, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, John. Great game so far.
Oh, it's been an excellent hockey game. How's your ankle?
Not too bad. I should be ready to go any day. It's sort of a day-to-day injury, just waiting to get back out there.
I guess a good sign that you made the trip. That means very possible, maybe even as soon as tomorrow.
Hope so.
David Emma has stepped in admirably and replaced you on the line with LaRose and Day. He's had a pretty tough night.
Yeah, Rosie, we're calling him, Herbie's calling him Timex up there.
Comes right to the front of the Detroit net. Fisher took a swipe at it, still loose in the slot. Nobody knows where it is. Bertium did, though, and deflected it behind the net. Dave Barr for Orlando as they buzz the Detroit zone, trying to circle out. Had his stick knocked away, clear to the line. Hartman holds it in. Winds into one, kicked away by Bertium.
Puck sank, it was on end, and Hartman fired it, and it sank down and forced Bertium to use his blocker.
Vipers clear to center. Bondra waiting at the red line, has it across the line with Junker, cuts across the slot, had it roll off his stick to the corner. Bondra just dangerous as he waits at center ice to get that pass, and it always seems to end up on his stick. Now Krivahisha will chase back into the Detroit zone. We're going to get an icing call on Orlando. Dave, you skated this morning with the club?
Yeah, I did this morning. Yeah, the ankle feels pretty good. I've got it taped up, and there's not too much I can do with it right now.
How about the ice? We're noticing as the game has gone on here, we're almost 7 minutes into the third, still looks a little wet. Concerns about the ice?
Well, I mean, that's just a freak thing. Same thing happened to Bobby that happened to me. You just catch a rut, and it's part of the game. We're playing in these warm climates now where the ice isn't always going to be great, and that's just part of the game. It could happen to anybody, really.
We look at the replay here, and see a great job by Michael Pavonka. He doesn't know where the puck is, so he just turns around and takes his man, Dave Barr. Allows somebody else to clear the puck. Instead of going looking for the puck and allowing his player to get in and get a shot, he just turns around, calmly takes his man off, and allows someone else to clear the puck in front of the net.
Emma wins the draw to Shaw, risks it through traffic, and that hit Emma, and that hit him up high. David goes down, but a good sign is he's quick to get back up. I was just about to say.
Well, he's smart enough maybe to get his head ducked down and catch it off the helmet.
Maybe got it off the helmet, indeed.
That was scary.
I was just about to say, you mentioned Pavonka's defensive play, Bobby. I don't think there was any doubt in anyone's mind standing here or with the team that he would excel offensively. But I've been very, very impressed with his defensive play as we see Emma being struck by the shot by Shaw.
Well, Emma wins the draw. We discussed the draws all night, and Detroit's doing a fantastic job. As soon as he wins it, though, he turns around and sees the puck. Probably already halfway at his head, and he just instinct gets him to duck. And fortunately for him, he got his hand up, or perhaps it hit him off the helmet, but he's lucky.
Getting back to Pavonka, it's great for players like me to see guys that come down from the NHL 10-year vets, and they make that commitment not only to defense, to offense.
Yeah, you know, coming from the National Hockey League, he knows the commitment to defense, but sometimes the worry or the concern is whether or not it would be there. As you mentioned, Tierney's backhander steered away by Bester, who has been outstanding tonight. 12:50 to go in the game, tied at 1. And another icing call forthcoming on Orlando as Brad Shaw is back to touch up.
Dave, after spending the year in Binghamton in the American League, which is considered a younger league now, a lot of kids just coming out of junior, you realize, I mean, I know you were in the I 2 or 3 years ago, but do you realize, have you realized all the experience there and the decision making these guys make after most of them being 5, 6, 7-year vets?
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier. You talk to guys that make the step from any minor league up to the NHL, and they say it's just a lot easier to play because guys are in position and that they know where to play, and it does make it easier for every player, I think.
12:45 to go, and we've got a timeout on the ice. I believe this was taken by Orlando. One development we've seen here in the third period is that Detroit, which dominated on the shot chart in this game, is now being outshot 25-24. We're going to take this opportunity to take a break. Tied at 1 on the Viper Hockey Network. BJ, and our pleasure to still have Dave Smith with us in the booth as Alan May flips it up the boards into the Detroit zone. Vipers have been outshot 9-1 in this third period, which we're not even halfway through. They're now being outshot in the game. Puck out of the corner in front. May all alone, and he didn't get much on it, and Bertiom covered it and may have been the recipient of a fortunate quick whistle as well.
Lonnie Loach did a nice job getting back there. Detroit's getting a little rattled down low. Now May just dumps it in, head down, goes right in and crashes. Here he gets a loose puck in front. Loach does a good job coming all the way back down low to not allow May a second opportunity.
Now you guys played together in Fort Wayne a few years ago, and I understand also
showed the kid the ropes.
You were roommates.
Yeah, I moved in with Bobby, and I was a little green at the time, but he took me under his wing, and I learned a few things from him.
Who did the cooking?
I don't think either one of us. We ate out a lot. But Bobby would do it when we had to. He was a very, very gracious and hospitable host.
In a sense, your mentor.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, we know. Brad Shaw out of the corner for Detroit will bring it up the near side. Tied at 1. Gets it to the red line. Has it taken away by Fisher. Moves it on the left side. Frederick with a snapshot that Bertiom got a piece of the glove on. He's frustrated he didn't catch it. Comes back up the wall and past Neaton, who was pinching. And then backhanded right back into the zone as it was pitchforked in by Barry Drager. Up the boards, Joe Day can't clear. Neaton stepped up. Turcotte fed it in front. Fisher shot saved by Bertiom, and again he'll pounce on the loose rebound.
One thing I've noticed here, John, and you may have talked about already, but with the new rules have been against holding up, the strongest forechecking teams are just dominating. I mean, if you can get a forecheck going, the defense are just trying to wrap it around the boards, and it's tough to defend against.
Being a defenseman, too, I'm really against it in the defensive zone. It's dangerous. I mean, you dump it in, you get a full run the whole zone in. Defenseman's real vulnerable there. That's the place I really think it should be allowed slightly. At least skating away for your partner. Allow the opposing player or the forechecker to have to go around you. Maybe you can't hook him, but at least be able to get in between him and your defense partner and force him to go around.
A look at the dominance of the Orlando Solar Bears in the third period, a dichotomy of what Detroit was able to establish in the first 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's just like last weekend. Orlando come out in the third period and really outplayed Detroit. It seems that way so far tonight.
Pavanka to take the draw on the circle to the right of Bertiom. Doesn't win it. Reed got it back to the line, poked away, and Bondra just can't quite get to it. As it was possibly 2-on-1. He and Junker the other way. Dangling into the zone, Brad Tiley almost split the defense and goes to the boards. Over comes LeBlanc. Stewart trying to kick it up the wall. Did get it through to Pavanka. Good help from Williams to get Pavanka free. Away come the Vipers, but the breakout pass goes south at the blue line. Williams got it back in his own zone. Now finds Bondra. He revs it up through center. Across the line looking for help. Sidesteps one check now. Just moves it to the corner. Pavanka goes after it. In behind the net. Junker tried to get a piece of it. It just bounced over his stick. Bondra came in, dumped his man. Pavanka trying to dig it out from under. Reed again without his bucket out there. It's sent to the front of the net, but intercepted. And turning is LeBlanc to get it to the blue line. Then Duncanson backed it into his own zone and just throws it to the open left wing. You got gear all over the Detroit zone. As Stewart comes back to tiptoe through the tulips and clear it away. Detroit will go for a change as they move it deep. David Williams got to it. They go in hard after it. Loach bumps his man. Cherney trying to dig it out. Savaglia waiting on the wall to the point. Andrzak stops it, winds into one, let it go, deflected over top of the net. Loach was parked in front. It comes back up the near side and out to center. Savaglia runs it down and moves it across. Andrzak's pass at center, handled by Loach, who lifts it in. Cherney will go after it. Neaton comes back and sweeps it back up the dasher the length of the ice. They'll wave the icing.
John, we got to look at this here. I believe Lonnie Loach is going to get a penalty. He made a good hit on Mike Hartman. Hartman turned around, looked right at Galvin, and then Galvin raised his arm.
And Loach, who took a penalty in the first period that we weren't so sure about when he was checked into the goal for interference, picks up his second questionable interference call, and a huge power play forthcoming for Orlando.
Well, this sounds biased, but it was unbelievable. Hartman finished a late check on Loach 10 seconds before this happened. Loach came back, finished his check on Hartman. No damage done. Hartman looks at Galvin. Galvin raises his arm. That's why Lonnie's upset.
Tune into Detroit's Fan, WDFN 1130 AM, the All-Talk Sports Station, where you can hear all the Viper games live. Loach off at 9:39 for interference, and the Viper penalty kill again will be put to the test.
That hurts having Lonnie out, too. He is one of the top penalty killers on the team, especially this time of the game. You want that experience, and he may know a little bit more, having killed penalties all game. Look at Guy.
LaRosa's stitches are not taking quite as well as they may have liked. He's losing a little more blood, but he is.
I was down in the room between periods. It's at least a 3.5-inch gash, and it wasn't that deep. I talked to the trainer. It wasn't that deep, but he was hurting.
Ever the Warrior, now Fisher. With the power play, tries to stuff it as he cuts in on the near side. Turcotte got tripped up. Moves it behind the net. To the corner, LaRose gets to it and lifts it high in the air the length of the ice. This is the 7th power play for Orlando tonight. They barely have as many shots as they have power plays when they've had the extra man, and then a testament to the Detroit penalty kill.
Well, Detroit has to watch for Fisher going to the net here. He's a big, tall kid, and he just gets the puck and goes to the net. Detroit has to be real conscious of him and try and knock him on his behind if he goes to the net and looks for a score.
Tiley wrapped it around the wall. The problem was he wrapped it past everybody, and Orlando forced to touch up as it comes all the way back into their own zone. Minute 10 remains in the penalty to Lonnie Loach as Fisher brings it to center. Backhands it into the Detroit zone. Williams turns to go get it. Goes up the glass with it on the dasher. It went through Joe Day, held in at the line. Neaton shot deflected on the way. Loose underneath Bertium, and Danielle's got it, even though he wasn't so sure.
Boy, I don't know how those goalies can follow that puck sometimes. We're up above the play, and we lost it in the feet. But he calmly went down on one knee, waited for it to hit Fish's skates twice. Just put his glove on it. No problem.
Danny's made a lot of big saves, a lot from out high. A lot of redirections coming across the crease, which is very tough for a goalie to do.
We saw him make a save earlier in this period that I don't know how he ever saw the shot. As Bobby mentioned, he was looking for a rebound, but Patrick Neaton, who has spent time with Cleveland and San Diego in this league before landing in Orlando, will work the point.
Well, Neaton did a nice job there. He just wristed it in, knew there was traffic. Almost found its way.
Neaton's a smart player. I played 3 years against him. He was with the University of Michigan, and he's always been a quarterback there. He does a great job in the power play.
He was an All-American there. Face off in the ring to the right of Bertium. Jeff Reed steps in to take it for Orlando, and just as he does, he's sent packing.
That's something we haven't seen a lot of this year, is guys getting thrown out of the face-off, either from the centerman or the wingers coming in, which we saw a lot of last year.
Now it's Pavanka to oppose Duncanson. Key face-off with a minute left in the power play. Pavanka works it to the corner. Stewart is trying to work it up the wall, realizes he's double-teamed, kicks it free. Now it comes back to the line. Circa winds into one, kicked away by Bertium. Rebound right to the side of the net, and Stewart knocked it free and allows Bertium to come out and cover.
Boy, another great save.
Michael Stewart, sorry, Bobby. Michael Stewart, I played with him in Binghamton last year, and he's pretty quiet on ice. He's big and strong, but he can really fight. He's a good fighter, and I think he'll surprise some guys. He plays a quiet style, and you'll see him. He's strong enough in this replay where you can see him push guys away from the net. He doesn't take any stuff out there.
Well, we discussed him on the opening, and 6'2", 210. I'm sure Rick Dudley was expecting him to be physical, and he has been physical tonight. Disciplined, not anything stupid, but real physical.
Right off the draw, LeBlanc got his stick on it and fired it wide on the short side. Duncanson comes over, worked it to the point, and a good job by Emma as he poked it free to get it out of the zone. Now 30 seconds remains in the Orlando power play as Circa at center ice looks for an opening and just flips it inside of the net. Bertium wanted to stop it, leaves it there for Shaw, who drives it around the boards, and it'll come out. Now a giveaway at center ice. Pavanka comes up with it. He's got Bondra with him. Gives it to him. Shot saved by Bester, who has now turned away both Bondra and Pavanka. Now Bondra kept it alive behind the net and drew a penalty. Vipers will get Bertium to the bench, and now Andrzak will back it out, and they'll try to set it up. The original penalty to Loach is now over. He'll come out of the box. Vipers do cough it up as Neaton rifles it into the empty net. And I think we just found out how many people in Orlando really do know the game of hockey.
I was bragging earlier for them, saying, wow, they really have been smart. But I don't know, maybe they didn't see Galvin's hand raised.
The delayed penalty. Bertium went to the bench for the 6th attacker. As soon as Orlando touches it, the play is whistled dead. And Detroit did a smart thing. They milked the rest of the penalty time there with Bertium off and got Loach out of the box. They will now have a power play when we return. 8:19 to go in regulation, tied at 1 on the Viper Hockey Network. Vipers on the power play because of the hard work of Peter Bondra.
Well, Pavonka knows where to get the puck to. He gets Bondra wide. Bondra quick shot, good save, continues on and gets hooked right here. His glove flies off.
And that's going to give Detroit a power play opportunity. Tied at 1. Savaglia out of his own zone. Finds Krivahisha. The Vipers have generated more offense on their power play, and they've had fewer. They're 0 of 5.
Nice breakout.
Loach to Savaglia, down the right wing wall, pulls up at the half wall and got it to the point. Good job by Krivahisha to keep it in. He winds into one side of the net, but Bester came out, cut the angle, and made the save as he had Joe Day sneaking from behind the cage.
Nice play by Krivahisha to keep that puck in on his backhand. Pulled it off the boards, got a good shot on net.
I think he had somebody going to the net, and Bester maybe complained he got a stick or whether the puck got him up high. But it was a good shot, especially with guys going to the net in the power play.
Well, that's what defensemen are looking for. When he picks that puck up off the blue line, he knows the forward's going to be coming out quick. And it's kind of useless to shoot it from there on that angle if nobody is going in net. So it's nice to see for Krivahisha. He looks up and sees a Detroit forward going to the net for a screen or a rebound.
As we look at Joe Day, who switched his number this season from 13 to 14, told me in the offseason 13 didn't work, didn't have a very good year, got hurt, was bad luck, so he went to 14.
Joe's funny like that. That's as simple as he said it. Yep, got hurt with 13, I'm switching 14.
Detroit still on the power play. Savaglia moves it to the corner. Loach handles it there. They'll trade places as Savaglia goes low, sends it high again. Krivahisha's shot deflected on the way. Savaglia scores on the rebound.
Well, you knew it was going to happen sooner or later for either team. Continually good shots from the center of the ice. Outnumbered down low is Orlando, and Savaglia does a great job getting that in the net.
Krivahisha, again, as you mentioned moments ago, does the good job of just getting it on net, and Pete was parked in front.
Well, the smart play there is, Dave will agree, especially being on the power play, you want the shot from the center of the ice. We talked about Krivahisha getting on net off the angle, which isn't bad, but if you have a preference, you want to get it from the center of the ice because so much more can happen, and that's what Krivahisha did.
When you're killing a penalty and you have a shot that a rebound can go to either side, it just doubles your opportunity as the offensive team. And the goalies want the shots from the angles as well as the defense, and that's what happened there.
Savaglia's first of the 95-96 campaign, and it gives Detroit a 2-1 lead, a power play goal, and now just 7.5 remains in the game. Turcotte takes a slash as Shaw keeps the puck away from him, and here's Bondra the other way on right wing. Puts on the brakes, then loses the puck, and here comes Fisher the other way. Got Turcotte with him across the line, 2-on-2, back to Turcotte, who rolls it just wide of the Detroit net. Good job defensively as Chagorovsky came back. Out of the corner, Frederick digs for it there. Chagorovsky just trying to tie it up. Coming off the boards, Turcotte slides it across, and the shot went awry as it just blew up off the stick of Neaton. He had a net to shoot at. Chagorovsky will clear. It goes through Junker all the way back into the Orlando zone. I think we're going to get an icing call here. We will, as Richards touches up. Well, 13 wasn't lucky for Joe Day. 24 was lucky for us as Dave Smith joins us in the booth and gets the go-ahead goal. Dave, best of luck. Continued success. We hope you a quick recovery, get you back out on the ice maybe as soon as tomorrow. Thanks for stopping by.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. You're doing a great job up here.
Oh, too kind. Thanks, Smitty. Good to see you, buddy.
Dave Smith, Vipers centerman, joining us as we look down on Alers, who has had a very tough night. But he is out there fighting as the Vipers making a run.
I can guarantee you, too, it won't hurt as much if he gets away with a win here. You know, those pains hurt a lot more when you come back. Nothing for your effort, but with a 2-1 lead, I'm sure he's feeling pretty good right now.
Detroit a season ago began 2-0 before their first setback. That was at home to the then Kalamazoo, now Michigan K-Wings. And a chance to go 3-0 with a win tonight. 2-1 Detroit on top. Savaglia's power play goal just moments ago, the difference in the hockey game right now. LaRose steps in, takes the draw. Tiley shot through traffic, saved by Bertillon, then poked in on the rebound, but no goal. The whistle had clearly blown, and this is a good call by Luke Galvin. Bertillon was on top of it.
Was a good call as far as the whistle was before the goal went in. Puck hit Bertillon in the pad, dropped under his legs long enough for Galvin to lose sight of it.
Danny didn't know where it was, and when he stood up, that freed it up, and it was poked home on the rebound, but you could clearly hear the whistle, even up here. And I know you and I have had trouble hearing a lot of things in this building tonight, but I did hear that whistle.
Well, there's no question the whistle blew. The only question would be, was it a quick whistle? And it was really tough to tell. Here's the draw back to Tiley. Gets a good shot on. The puck is in between his legs.
Duncanson pokes it home, but No goal, and Detroit's lead still 2-1. Again to Tiley at the point. His rocket pad save rebound right there for Reed. His shot didn't get through. Bertium again closes the legs on it. And Danny wasn't too sure where that one was either, but he was on top of it.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if Rick Dudley changes centers here. Nothing against Dave Emma, but that was almost a carbon copy of the same play. The puck went back to Tiley. He got a great shot off, and there was a scramble in front.
Well, he makes some defensive changes, and now he will also get a new forward line out as Pete Savaglia will come out. Orlando had 16 shots on goal in the first 40 minutes of this game. They have 16 shots on goal in 13-19 in the third period.
Boy, that's a lot of pressure. And last week, Danny Bertium had a cramp in his hand from loss of water. Tonight, he's had much more action. I wonder how he's holding up. He seems to be doing quite well physically.
Bertium, in 2 appearances this year, has seen 56 shots and made 55 saves, reminiscent of his debut in the playoffs last year.
There's a big face-off for Detroit. Savaglia won that one.
And Chagorovsky rims it around the boards, not out. Circus sends it low. Shaw takes the body on Duncanson, allows Chagorovsky to take the puck. Again around the boards, it doesn't come out as Tiley pinched in. Savaglia digs it free and motors to center. He's got Tierney with him as he comes across the line, and then just had it roll off his stick. He was hooked and held as he came inside the line as well. Tierney knocks it free at center. Gets it back from Loach. Tierney behind the defense. Shot, score!
Wow.
Joseph Tierney, it's 3-1.
What a fantastic play by Lonnie Loach. He took a slash and is down on both knees right now, but quick transition, turnover in the neutral zone, and Detroit really makes Orlando pay.
It was Loach who creates the play.
Well, here's the turnover. Tierney just kicks it out to Loach. Loach takes a big check. Tierney goes right to the net. Quick shot, and an excellent shot.
He beat Bester's stick side and showed us some good speed to pull away from the defense as Tiley was trying to come back and dove wildly at him, but Joseph has his first as a Viper, and it's a big goal.
That's real big. That let the wind out of Orlando. Obviously, there's plenty of time for Orlando with the pressure they have had on Detroit, but there's Tierney. Look at him again. Talked about his offense. His eyes light up. He knows he has a step on the D. Gets in. Bester's in good position, but it was a nice shot.
Now that makes it a lot easier for Daniel Bertium with 6:13 remaining.
Plenty of time, though, no doubt. I'm sure.
Not that you let up, but what a big goal that is.
That is definitely huge.
Face off at center, control by Detroit. Krivahisha moves it to Pavanka, and he'll just get it in deep. Richard to the rolling puck side of the net. It gets away from him as Junker came in after. Played up the boards away to center. Krivahisha wanted to get it in, but it was bouncing on him. He didn't get much on it. Joyce carries to the Detroit line. Didn't bring it in with him, so he had to take it back out to let everyone touch up. Now Joyce moves it at center. Knocked away and bounces to Bondra, who let a rifle shot go just over top of the net. Boy, the effectiveness of the quick shot, and Bondra got that one away quickly. Almost took it away at the line. Back comes Neaton with a wrist shot. Close save for Bertium, and Danielle will take no chances as he'll squeeze it. And then some extracurriculars in front of the Detroit net.
Yeah, well, Orlando knows what they have to do. They're just getting good shots on net and crashing. Detroit's defense was there, but a lot of shoving going on after the whistle. Here's Neaton, cuts across, realizes getting out of room or off the angle. Gets it up a little high, possibly over the net, but Danny's short, so you have to be careful of, how high those pucks are. He decided to hold on to that one, which was a good decision.
Well, as an old goalie once told me, if you can catch it, grab it.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. No harm. Hold the rebound. You don't know where the puck's going if you let it go. And sounds like good information to me, so I'm not a goalie, but worked in that situation. No damage done.
He also told me to hold it high and let everybody in the building know you got it. Play it up for all it's worth.
Well, he's worked hard tonight.
Bertium has played outstanding, and specifically in this third period has given the Vipers the opportunity to take what is now a 3-1 advantage. 5:29 remains. Detroit has scored the only 2 goals of the third. Savaglia on the power play and Tierney each their first of the season. Fisher from behind the Detroit net rolls it in front, and Turcotte was tied up. Good job by Michael Stewart, and the Vipers get it out. 2-on-2, LaRose and Day. They've got a trailer. The third man is Emma. Gets it to him. Shot. Knuckles wide. Boy, it was set up nicely. I don't think David got as much on that as he would have liked.
No, he drifted in nice behind the play, and Joe waited for him, Guy waited for him, gave a nice pass, but he misfired a bit.
Turcotte brings it up the right wing boards into the Detroit zone, rolls it across the slot, bouncing puck that Joe Day goes and gets, moves it up the boards and out. Checking it was Guy LaRose, excuse me. Emma battles for it in the neutral zone and gets it deep into the Orlando end, enabling a change.
Good decision, just chipped it in.
Inside 5 to go in regulation, 3-1 Detroit. Fisher coming through the neutral zone, knocked down by Savaglia. Tierney up with it across the line. He's got Loach with him, winds into one, and look out. That one deflected off the high glass behind the net.
That was a hand grenade. It just exploded up high.
Vipers knock it down as it's cleared to center. Wait to touch up, and Brad Shaw just backhands it right back into the Orlando zone. At this point in time, getting it deep is a great play with a 2-goal lead and just over 4 to go. 2-line pass is whistled as Jeff Reed takes it in the neutral zone, and we will take a break. 3-1 Detroit. Just over 4 to go from Orlando on the Viper Hockey Network. Now, just a moment ago, Alan Bester had to look out for his life.
Well, he's in a perfect slot position here, and really get good wood on it. Appeared like it just hopped up on him as he let it go. I believe it was David Emma coming down the slot.
That was that 3-on-2 where Savaglia, or excuse me, Joe Day and Guy LaRose had him as a trailer.
LaRose went to the net, forced the defenseman to go with him, and Emma filtered in behind.
Vipers win the draw. Krivahisha scored a wrist shot that Bester never saw. He put it upstairs. It's 4-1.
Well, how many times have we seen that with Krivahisha? He just wrists them in there up high, and they go through traffic. And most goalies, when there is traffic, get down low to look for the puck. And that thing snuck right over Bester's shoulder, and that might do it.
That is a classic Krivahisha goal. He did it twice in the preseason like that, and you see Bester never move.
We talked so many times and we're preached by coaches, get it on net, and forwards crash the net. That was a perfect example of what happened. It wasn't an overly hard shot. It was off the angle, but Bester couldn't see it.
Pavanka won the draw. He will draw the assist, and suddenly a hard-fought, very close hockey game is opened into a 3-goal Detroit lead. Fisher brings it into the Detroit zone, and it poked off his stick. Tiley trails the play, got his shot through, and somehow Bertium got a piece of that.
Good deflection by Fisher, and Bertium made a nice save.
Bondra carries back the other way as it swept off his stick and cleared into the Detroit zone. Andrzak has to come back and get it. Rink wide for Michael Stewart, who has quietly played a very nice game tonight.
Yeah, he's really done his job tonight. I think Rick Dudley's going to be very happy with what he's contributed.
An icing call will go against Detroit, and the face-off will come all the way back into the Vipers zone. 3:41 to go. 4-1 now, Detroit. The Pistons season opener just around the corner. The Knicks will be in town on Friday, November the 3rd. If you're one of the first 22,000, you get a team calendar, compliments of Total Health Care. Face off in the circle to the right of Bertium. Marc Beaufait takes the draw. I haven't seen much of Beaufait here in the third period.
Detroit continues to win defensive face-offs.
That time it was Emma who controlled it. Fisher just falls down in front of his bench, gets back up and joins Beaufait as the rush into the Detroit zone. Poked off his stick by LaRose. LaRose heads up the right side the other way for Detroit. Chris crosses with David Emma, brings it into the zone and sweeps it behind the net.
Those are the decisions that you really like to see made by Detroit. LaRose had nothing, just shot it in behind the goal.
Across it comes to Dave Bard. Bard couldn't get it past Joe Day at the blue line, and Joe again will go deep with it. Detroit will get a change now, less than 3 remains. A 3-goal Viper lead. A near-capacity crowd in Orlando starting to file out, and not too much noise being made by them right now either. 3 goals late here in the second half of the third, taking the wind out of the home opener's sail here in Florida City. Craighead muscling in the corner, just trying to keep the clock moving as it's kicked free. Patrick Neaton cannot get it past Savaglia. And good job by Craighead just to keep moving it along the wall. Now with that long reach, keeps it alive with a point. Chagorovsky's shot kicked away on the way by Joyce. Sent to the far corner where Alfie Turcotte goes after it. Orlando just needs to get it out of their zone right now before they can even think about doing anything else, and they inadvertently clear the length of the ice. They'll wave the icing.
Great hustle by John Craighead. They kept pressure solely by himself.
Very good shift by Craighead indeed. Bondra brings it across the line, is behind the play. Oh my, Alan May goes after Michael Pavanka. Well, I've been waiting for that.
Yeah, I'm sure that was from last weekend.
Yeah, Pavanka put May out of the game and may very well have knocked him out midway through the game on Friday when he got his stick up on May, and also put Pavanka out of the game when he took a major penalty. And with this one, with exactly 2 minutes remaining, apparently just about to be put on ice by the Vipers, Alan May felt it was time to take his redemption on his former teammate in Washington.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of relationship they had, but that was a pretty big hit by Pavanka last weekend. And to May's credit, if he decided he was going to do something tonight, he waited until a time in the game where it wouldn't hurt his team. But it was a good job by Pavanka, too, to turn the other cheek. And with the win under their belt, Pavanka doesn't need to retaliate there.
So May will take a seat. And now all kinds of debris on the ice.
Fans are reminded to please refrain from throwing any objects onto the ice.
And that's going to slow things down.
It becomes a very dangerous situation.
And it'll give us an opportunity to remind you that Detroit News Family Night at the Palace is coming up October the 27th. Indianapolis Ice will be in town also on October the 29th when Las Vegas enters the Palace. You get 4 tickets to the game, you get a couple of shirts, and you get $20 worth of Palace fun money. It's a $90 value for just 44 bucks. For information, call the Palace box office at 810-377-0100. So they'll have to remove the debris. That is, if anyone comes out to do it anytime tonight.
No rush. He's walking out here.
Well, why not? We've been here this long, right? This one was slated to begin over 3 hours ago. It did not begin until roughly 3 hours ago right now.
I think the only bad thing to say about tonight's game was a lot of the stuff that went on.
And the length of it, for the most part, and perhaps the reasoning being it's just it's the first run here in Orlando. I'm sure they'll tweak it a little bit and get the bugs out, as you mentioned earlier, and get it down. The league average last year was right around 2.5 hours for a game. The games on television ran a little longer for obvious reasons, and Kurt Frazier has to let this one stick in his craw for another week. You talked about it earlier as a player, not liking the schedule being, I mean, it's been an NFL schedule for Orlando so far. They played last Friday, they play this Friday, they don't play again until next weekend. And I guess it's one thing if you win those games, but now this one stays with you for another week. And as a player, that means you got to go through a week of practice with a coach that's remembering 0-2.
And if you're Orlando, yeah, I mean, you have to feel nice to not see Detroit the next coming weeks, because Orlando's played real well tonight and pretty well last weekend and have absolutely nothing to show for it. So it's tough when you play this well and lose and then can't get back at it till next week.
Just 2 minutes remain. 4-1, the Vipers on top. They have been outshot 34-31, and they have been outshot specifically in this, the third period, 18-8. But Daniel Bertiom has played outstanding, and he has allowed his mates to throw 3 in the Orlando basket in the final 10 minutes. I don't think you can underscore the effort of Claude LaRose tonight. I don't think he even appears on the score sheet anywhere, but what a statement he made with his gutty performance.
Yeah, well, Guy's known to be a grinder and a tough kid, and takes a beating. And look at him tonight. I mean, he's got the blood running down. He got whacked in the back of the leg. He's worked hard.
And he's out there for perhaps what is one of the final 2 or 3 shifts of the hockey game.
And we talked about establishing character as a team. You know, they won 2 games last weekend at home. Now they come out in a road, hard-fought battle. And that's a good character establisher right there when you see one of your teammates take a skate to the face, come back and play a great game.
Yeah, this one, anybody's game inside the final 10 minutes. Pete Savaglia's power play goal put Detroit up 2-1. And then Tierney with a goal, as well as Krivahishe. Penalty coming up to Orlando as the Solar Bears are getting a little bit frustrated now.
You know who took that stick, don't you? Guy LaRose right on the back.
As he went down in front of the net as well, and now Orlando touches up in the neutral zone, and with 1:37 remaining, the Vipers will go on another power play. If nothing else, this will add to the power play stats. Both teams now will have had 7 extra man opportunities. Orlando 0 for 7. Detroit is 1 of 6 so far. Joe Frederick will go off for the slash on Guy LaRose.
Well, you watch LaRose here hang on to the puck. Gets shoved from behind. Takes a slash right in the back. That's kind of a cheap shot. But he puts his arm out. Maybe he just reacted quick and kind of felt bad about what he did.
He got cross-checked first to get put on the ice.
That wasn't a bad play by Orlando, though. He just shoved him from behind as LaRose came out to try and stuff it. He's strong on his skates, so he had to shove him from behind in order to knock him down.
Final 90 seconds of the game as Krivahisha carries from behind his own net ahead for Joe Day. Day will leave it there. He caught a stick up high as Circa got him. Krivahisha carries into the zone. Pulls up at the left point, now moves it across. Andrzak gives it back to him. Yuri moves in, gives it to Andy. Top of the right wing circle, sent it down low, trying to stuff it home. LaRose sent it right across the slot. Would have been fitting if Guy could have finished. Get a goal after the kind of night he has had. Krivahisha feeds it in front, tipped by LaRose, and it rolls to the goal line, score!
Boy, what a play. That looked like slow motion.
I knew it was behind Bester. I didn't know if it would get in. I don't know whether Emma pushed it across or LaRose. I think maybe Guy LaRose will get credit for the goal.
Well, it was a question. The question was, is it going to get to the goal line before somebody can shove it out of there? Smart play by Krivahisha. He got his head up, saw LaRose standing alone in front because it was 5-on-3. Wristed it in, put kind of a shot pass. LaRose made a beautiful redirection right through Bester's legs.
So another power play goal for Detroit, and this one is now 5-1. You see LaRose just redirects it, and it is across the line. Emma never got his stick on it as he was tied up.
Still hadn't been touched for a good 3-4 seconds. It sat maybe 1/2 an inch behind the goal line and stopped right there. Never made it to the back of the net, but did cross the line.
Well, I just heard the PA announce the goal to Greg Andrzak. And they will change that.
Yeah, it was definitely LaRose's goal from Krivahisha. And perhaps Andrzak might be an assist.
Now the Vipers inside a minute, rifle one on net as Chagorovsky got it through, and a frustrated Alan Bester steers it to the corner. This has not been a 5-1 hockey game, but that's our score with half a minute to go. Puck back in the Orlando zone, being run down by Todd Richards, who just gets it out to center. Hartman redirects to the Detroit line. Shaw pushes it ahead. Josef Cherney rolls it on net, and Bester forced to cover it one last time, perhaps, with 18.4 seconds remaining.
Yeah, you mentioned it wasn't a 5-1 hockey game, but that happens with the tightness of this game all the way to the end. As soon as a 2-goal lead does open up with under 5 minutes, at times kind of lets the wind out of Orlando's sails, and they might let up for a second. But the penalties had something to do with it, too, as Detroit had a 5-on-3 there.
Oh, and you're going to read it on Kurt Frazier's face. Detroit with a pair of power play goals down the stretch. Yuri Krivahisha with a goal and 2 assists here in the third period has played well on special teams. And the Vipers have pulled away 5-1. They will go to 3-0. Orlando will drop to 0-2.
Well, we discussed all that work in the first 2 periods on the power play with nothing to show, and it appears Detroit's made up for that. Persistence has paid off.
Again from the line, Shaw's shot right on pad save. Bester rebound. Cherney was alone in front, then got erased by Jeff Reed. Inside 10 seconds to go. Duncanson will clear, and Chagorovsky swats it back into the zone. Cherney goes after it, but the horn will sound, and this one is over tonight at the Orlando Arena. The first ever game of the Orlando Solar Bears concludes to the cheers of the home fans who saw a whale of a hockey game. The final score does not indicate what we saw tonight here in Orlando. Our final score, the Detroit Vipers 5 and the Orlando Solar Bears 1 on the Detroit Viper Hockey Network. Bell Tire's American Car Care Centers. Nobody comes close. Nobody's closer. Al Dietrich Oldsmobile GMC Truck in Aurora, M59 and Airport Road in Waterford. And by your local Coca-Cola bottler. Always on ice, always Coca-Cola. The first road venture of the 95-96 campaign is a successful one for the Detroit Vipers as they knock off the Orlando Solar Bears tonight by a final score of 5-1. John Alers alongside Bobby J back at the Orlando Arena. And Bobby, great start to the road trip. Not a 5-1 game, but the Vipers very persistent, very resilient down the stretch.
Yeah, it was an excellent played game by both teams. Detroit's obviously more happy they won the game, and it's an excellent start to a long road trip. 3 games, 3 different cities against 3 good teams. So Orlando's a great team. They're probably a little disappointed, but it was a good hockey game.
Very hard-fought game, and it's time now to take a look at our 3 stars of the game. As brought to you by Bud Ice, the official beer of the IHL. Tonight's number 3 star of the game gets a goal inside the final minute of the game, Guy LaRose, but it wasn't the goal scoring that made him a star tonight.
No, it wasn't. Obviously, we spoke about the beating he took tonight with a huge gash above his eye from a skate, a slash in the back, a couple of cross checks. He's had a rough night, but he's earned and deserved the number 3 star.
Our number 2 star, one of the newcomers, Michael Stewart, who played a very strong game defensively. He won't show up on the score sheet either, but gave the Vipers exactly what they thought they would get when they acquired him from Hartford. And our number 1 star of the game tonight, maybe because of the third period more than anything, Daniel Bertillon makes 33 saves in facing 34 shots, 18 of those coming in the third period. He was the difference when the game was tied.
He played fantastic. Orlando had to be a bit disappointed with the pressure they put on Detroit, especially in the third period, come away with nothing. Huge boost for Detroit, let down for Orlando.
Those tonight's 3 stars of the game brought to you by Bud Ice, the official beer of the IHL. 5-1, Detroit gets the win in Orlando tonight over the Solar Bears. Bobby and I will be back with more after this on the Detroit Viper Hockey Network. 3-3 nights is tough on the road, especially when you go from Orlando to Houston to Atlanta. As a coach, you realistically try to go 500 on the road. This makes the next 2 games a little easier.
Yeah, it does. I mean, obviously, they're going to win tomorrow night. It's 1 game. They want to win 1 game. But tonight starts the thing good. They feel good about themselves, about their play on the road. And they can enjoy this for a little bit tonight, but they're flying right into Houston and then Atlanta, and away they go again.
A reminder that the Vipers will return home after this 3-game road swing. Their next home action Thursday at the Palace, a 7:30 face-off against the Fort Wayne Comets, and you can stick around after the game for autographs with your favorite Viper players as well. Tickets are still available. The number to call, 810-377-0100. Once again, tonight from the Orlando Arena, our final score. The Detroit Vipers 5 and the Orlando Solar Bears 1. For Bobby J., my color analyst, and for Eric Date, our director in the truck, and the rest of our crew, this is John Alers saying thanks for being with us tonight, and good night, everybody.